I only got one call on faceless. Did you get any?
I haven't gotten any.
What are you hiding over there?
I don't bring up that word. I didn't get mine till yesterday.
I didn't get
I
mine.
haven't gotten mine yet.
That's probably why I haven't got any calls yet.
Yeah.
All right, with that, it's 8:30. This February 29th meeting of the Rouse's County Commission to order. Please everybody join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
This is the last day of February, leap day.
Yes.
Day only comes around, what, once every 4 years? Is that right? We got a birthday today. Happy once every 4 year birthday. Must be nice having dog years in reverse, what I call it.
My twins almost did. They were born on the 28th.
Oh, goodness.
They're born at like 11:59 or something like that. Just barely missed it, you know. Must be nice.
Was a concern of moms at the time.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, I saw something on WWW where they were wanting to interview people who were born on the 29th to give their story or something. I guess some good ones out there. Okay, well, we're gonna have public comment, so Evan's got something for us. Very good news.
So nothing you haven't heard.
Okay.
Evan McMillan, Public Works, just wanted to give a reminder to Mullen. Road will be closed at Mullen and Rosencutter. It'll start next Tuesday, should last about 2 days.
Okay.
So anyone want to use the transfer station should use South Manhattan.
Okay, there's been a couple of questions about that. I don't know if we might update our press release and mention that.
Yeah, we have traffic boards out there right now that will set up traffic control during the outage. So,
Okay, sounds good.
all right, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else in public comment this morning? Okay, seeing none, I'll close off public comment and we'll go ahead and move on to commissioner comments this morning and start with Commissioner McKinley.
Okay, well, Monday, after a meeting with the intergovernmental luncheon, heard from Rich Fargo about the elections this year, and there were questions from several other officials that surprised me, but Rich gave me an explanation. I guess being around it all the time, I thought, I'm surprised how what questions others had, because it seemed pretty obvious to me, but I've been involved, been around it too much, I guess. And then we also had a presentation from RCPD on the arrangements made for the fake Patty's Day. Other than that, last week of the month was slow going.
So fake Patty's Day is what, this weekend?
Saturday.
Okay.
On your green and get out there and drink some beer.
Green beer.
Yep.
I don't think so.
No?
No,
Oh, man.
went through that with my daughter when she was in college.
Oh.
I don't need to do that again. Well, I helped her. Anyway, let's see. I've been doing lots of physical therapy to get my knee working again. It's going along, but slower than I'd like. Of course, that's always the way for me. Several residents of Keats have approached me about a new website that they've developed. That's going to be a communication tool for the community where they won't have to have meetings all the time to get together. And they asked me to help them get out some factual information about the sewer project at this point in the process. I gave them some information. I said, please pass it by me before you print it so we make sure everything's correct. So they've got a good start for it. It's keatscommunity.org. So they've got a good start to it. It can be built, and they're hoping that it will continue on in the future. So that citizens get factual information rather than just walk on the streets. Let's say it's been slow for me too, for other reasons, but Wednesday I did go over the agenda and document for today's meeting, so I'm ready to go.
Okay, well, Monday I too attended the intergovernmental luncheon. Commissioner McKinley covered that pretty well. Also Monday afternoon, I met with Amanda Webb and Rich Fargo to talk about the work on the 2025 comprehensive plan. just some concerns and challenges that were out there with it, and just talk about that along the way and brainstorm some ideas moving forward. We'll see how that goes. Discussion will come along with that as things move forward. Also met Monday with Riley County Fire Chief, Emergency Management Director Russell Stuckey. Discussed a handful of items pertaining to his department and some challenges facing the fire district. Nothing new, stuff we're already fully aware of. Just some things we'll do in 2024 and beyond. Also on Monday, I met with Riley County Attorney Barry Wilkerson, Chief Judge Grant Bannister, Judge Lewison, and Judge Bosch. Discussed some of the safety, security, space challenges they're facing at the courthouse. Some dialogue, some possible options that might solve that issue, both in the short term and the longer term. Had a pretty good conversation, sparked some possibilities. It'll be part of a longer term discussion. Monday evening, watched the men's basketball team play a very interesting game against West Virginia. I don't know how you get up 25 points and then just about lose it, but then get into overtime and win your 7th overtime game of the year. And I don't know, basketball is just, is it football season yet?
Every K-State game needs to be 45 minutes.
Yeah, well, yeah, if that's what it takes, that's fine with me. That's, maybe we're probably getting it back together again, maybe here at the end of the season, so I guess it is what it is. Tuesday, I sat in first of what's probably gonna be many, responsibility meetings, I call it at Florence, for 2024. It's a working group meeting I've been appointed to help discuss and just brainstorm some ideas for the company. A lot of challenges. They want to increase production, but it's going to be very hard to do. Just the way things are kind of set up. So we're just trying to figure out ways to make that work with the current model. So it'll be interesting. Right now it's a monthly meeting. It may take a couple of extra meetings, particularly as we start working through spring and summer, but we'll see how that goes. So also on Tuesday, attend the February board meeting for Pawnee Mental Health. I just lost my screen here, and that's not good. I didn't get the chance because of that work meeting to attend the our usual finance committee meeting. It overlapped at the same time, so I kind of had to pick one or the other. That's the way it works sometimes. But long story short, I did get to sit in on the regular meeting and got caught up on that at a later time. But a couple of things just update you on from that meeting. We did get an audit report and a 990 report from April Schwartz from 2023. Followed by a chief financial officer's report. And then Robin Cole gave her typical chief executive officer's update, which included a discussion of the BHC needs assessment and a staffing and training plan that they're going to start implementing here early in 2024. We also went through the strategic plan for 2023. It's more of a progress report at this point in time, and we're kind of putting some things on hold as they make the transition to the new CEO here this next month. A lot of things are kind of putting on hold due to that, but I also got an update from the executive committee who reviewed and discussed the yearly meeting structure. Once again, that could change once the new CEO comes on board next month, Michael Riskella. I think we're all aware of that. That change will be happening shortly. Really, that was most of the meeting at this point in time. Like I said, most of the rest of the plans are kind of put on hold until we make that transition. So, and there'll be some opportunities to meet him, and then there'll be some retirement ceremony type of things in March and April for Robin as well. So, yesterday morning, had the opportunity to give the introduction and opening welcome for the County Weed Directors Association's annual conference, which is here over at the Hilton Garden Inn. It included all the directors of the county noxious weed and hazardous waste departments from around the state. Very glad they chose Manhattan and Riley County to host the event this year. That followed up by the Kansas Secretary of Agriculture, Mike Beam, who was on hand to give a presentation and update on the status of agriculture here in the state and the role all the departments play in that. So appreciated the opportunity to be able to say a few words and a chance to meet some county weed officials from the state. And yeah, basically that's the week in a nutshell. We'll slide into some business now.
Ready for business, commissioners? First item, I need a motion to appoint whoever you wish to appoint to the 21st District Judicial Nominating Commission to fill Joanna Lyle's position. Been a list provided by Derek Roberson.
So if I understand that right, it's just a single position, right?
Correct. Familiar names on there.
Yeah, there are. Some good names there.
There are.
But I'll tell you mine. I was leaning towards Neil or
You know, I'm leaning towards Jan Miller, being a businesswoman in town. Since we have a woman going off, it'd be good to have another.
I don't know what's the makeup. What is the rest of?
That I do not know, Commissioner.
That's
That I do not know.
I was just kind of thinking, I look at the list and I'm like, there's really no judicial experience amongst that group at all. I mean, it's a
No.
judicial nominating board.
Joanna hasn't been on there a long time. She was actually my mental accounting teacher going through K-State. Top government accounting.
Well, let's see, Bill Dyer is on there. He's legal. So he would have some. He's a current board member.
Mr. Chairman, I would say too, I suspect part of the makeup of this is I wouldn't be put off by not having a bunch of people.
He also is on there as judicial
Because they're gonna-
nominating commission.
This committee's, intended to
That's in the other book.
put forward people to fill those positions, and most of the people
Thank you.
affected by it aren't going to be lawyers.
Yeah.
And they aren't going to be former judges. I'm just telling you, you have that freedom. I think it doesn't undermine what that committee does.
It'd be good to know what the list is, just to see what.
The only other one that is
Yeah.
our appointee, Steve Hargrave, is appointed by this commission. So Steve Hargrave is on there currently, appointed by this commission. That's the only other appointee you have.
Oh,
Yeah.
where do they all come from then?
The entire committee, that I don't know.
Either.
The,
Just
and
don't
it's-
know anything
it's
about
on our advisory boards, there's a list of the current members.
Oh, there is?
Yeah, if you go to our advisory boards, so.
Can you pull up our advisory board so you can see the current list of members?
She said it's on here.
Yeah, it is on there if you go to the county commission and the
It's
advisory.
not our
boards, which is
appointees,
a
right?
lot.
Mhm.
I looked it up yesterday.
No. I didn't think to look on there.
Yeah, I didn't think it would be on there, but it is.
Judicial nominating is.
Yeah, 21st District Judicial Nominating Commission.
I kind of like Jan because she knows a lot of people in the community,
It's all-
been in business for a long time, so.
Well,
Derek Roberson's on the commission.
Longer than that, probably.
These are all good people.
Okay.
Probably a good thing if you're having difficulty
Uh-huh.
selecting.
Mhm.
Yeah, it isn't that they thought, no way that, they're all good. And also the other things, Jan Marks, which.
Uh-huh.
She's really good.
Yeah, Jan Marks.
Uh-huh.
That's actually, I know everybody on this list. That's actually who I was
Okay,
originally
thank you.
thinking. So
That's good.
But
She's my number two, so.
There's-
I kinda made it-
there's only one other woman besides Joanna Lyle on the commission. The rest was made up of like 5 or 6 other males.
Okay.
Based
I
on
got
the
the
male-female
list here.
ratio.
There's 4 attorneys. Oh, Derek Roberson, Jeremiah Platt, Bill Barr, and Kidra Schartz. And then other ones are Kyle Bauer, Steve Hargrave, it's Joanna Lyle was getting off, and Steve McMahon.
Mhm.
Yes. Let's see, attorneys, but. Say Jan Marks, number 2, if that's what you're.
actually, that was my number one. So,
Yeah,
okay.
that's good. I think Jan Marks would be really good.
Get a motion as such?
Yeah.
I moved to appoint Jan Marks to the 21st District Judicial Nominating Commission to fill Joanna Lyle's position.
I would second that.
Okay, it's been moved and approved moved and seconded to appoint Jim Marks to the 21st District Judicial Nominating Commission to fill Joanna Lyle's position. All in favor?
Aye. Now, the other people's applications stay on file for how long?
They'll have to reapply the next
Reapply?
time it comes
Okay.
around, yeah. Good, yeah.
I thought they stayed on.
Next commission need a motion for the tax roll correction for high V, which is not insignificant.
No. Lost it here. So this was stipulated for Bodo.
Mm-hmm. Water by Boda.
Much choice.
Do not have any choice.
Well, I'd make a motion to approve the tax roll correction as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the tax roll as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
Take it back. You probably had a choice. It just puts a lot more work on Clancy. Chair, please sign. Oh, next.
Oh, yes. I make the motion.
Appreciate that. Trying to help you in a similar way.
I'm pretty sure in his favor.
We do that all the time.
You. Next, Commissioner of Raleigh County Employee Action Forms, Christina Trocek, new hire, Assistant County Attorney, County Attorney's Office, Kyle Ward, new hire, as needed volunteer firefighter stipend. Brett Wagg, Brett Wagg, promotion traffic Public Works Department, Sarah Smithson, new hire appraiser 1 residential in the appraisers department, and Raphael Leon, appraisers 1 separation of service. All 3 signed, please.
You know, like put a dash or something in there, because every time it says fire on there, then it says somebody on there, it just doesn't read.
Good point. Any items for the county officials luncheon commissioners? I think we were going to talk about budget.
Yeah, we need to discuss that though. I've already talked to Clancy, but we need to see if we can move it the time. I need to move it to 2:00. I can't do it at noon. And we can't really move it. We can't move it to another day in
Or we
March because
can move it to another day, but it's up to
we
the,
really can't. We can't move it to the 4th, the 11th, the 18th is the law board.
I just got an agreement from 2 or more of you on which day and time we can move to.
Okay.
Well,
Well,
I said, I was going to confirm that because I've got another meeting at noon that day also.
okay.
So making it later would work, making it sooner would
Okay.
work. for
Does that
me.
work for you, Catherine?
Hang on a second.
You bet.
Let me look at, it just puts on PT schedule. Set
Oh,
it
yeah,
yesterday,
PT.
which I set yesterday, so let's see. what we got here. And that is what day?
The 11th.
I have PT at 2:00.
Figures. There's not another day I can move it, so. The law board is at noon on the 18th and the county governmental's on the 25th at noon.
Let me give them a call when we have a little break and I'll see if I can move that later.
Okay.
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 Yep, just let me know.
All
We'll
right.
get it rescheduled.
I just set that yesterday, so I think she had some more time.
Yeah, probably so. It's a little ways away, so probably be able to work it in. Any changes to the minutes, commissioners?
I
Didn't see anything.
Get a motion.
Let's see, I'd make a motion to approve the minutes from February 26, 2024 as written.
Second.
It's been seconded to approve the minutes from the Riley County Commission meeting from February 26th, As written, all in favor? Aye.
Tentative agenda, look, commissioners,
With the exception of that change on the.
Yeah.
Fine.
hopefully we'll have that cleared up soon.
Yeah.
And that's what I was wondering.
Funny how
I
both of you
could
have a
change mine.
conflict.
I could change mine if I needed to.
Yep, might be cleared up shortly. Any items for next week's press conference, commissioners? Okay, not, we have Mr. Holman, 9:00.
So that would be, we would start that at 2.
I think that's what Commissioner Ford was asking
About an
for,
hour.
2:00.
Yeah, probably an hour.
Yeah, I'll be do those as an hour.
Okay.
Yep, sure. Assuming you're Mr. Boyd?
No,
No?
David Lamone.
Oh, well, Barbara, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
New Culvers, huh?
Yeah, for sure.
Good deal.
Yeah.
Here to watch the commission at work.
Well, I had a couple issues I wanted to raise. I just didn't know the right time to raise.
Oh, sorry, that was a public comment.
Yeah, I wondered, but I couldn't see the whole agenda, so I didn't know.
Yeah, and Commissioner, if we get the other commissioner back, maybe.
Yeah.
Well, you address them here shortly.
Okay. It's just like a break.
Yeah, it is. We're just a gap in between
Okay.
scheduled time, so.
Thanks.
Means we're up there. It's probably hard.
Yes, sir.
Oh, here it is. No, you're fine. No. Oh, it lasts forever.
Well, yeah, our last one, then, we were trying to prove that.
Things look to be starting out well. Every time I go to Menards, I see a huge line and think I'm not waiting in that line.
That's farming. I would never say don't come, call ahead. Yeah, we've been very blessed by the community.
Good. Good.
We feel very well.
Good. Where you from?
Originally from Iowa, Northeast Iowa. I moved here from Seattle 2 years ago.
Gotcha. What brought you from Seattle?
Kind of a strange story, but we kind of picked Manhattan off a map and bought a house and moved. That's the short story.
Our planning directors from King County.
You'd never been here before?
No,
So you just threw a dart and,
pretty much. I wanted to move. We were looking for houses in Iowa down by Ames. I wanted to be near land grant university and, being from Iowa made sense.
Mhm.
And we couldn't find a house in the whole state that we liked. And we got stranded in Kansas City for a few days. And my cousin said, you should look for a house again.
Hmm.
I said, that's crazy. How would I do that? And we started looking and found a great house here.
Mhm.
And we were gonna look at it and then we ran out of time and just went back to Seattle. And then a few days later, we bought it. Moved.
Well, lucky for you, you picked the very first land grant.
I know, well, there's a dispute, right? It was approved first, it was built first.
Yeah.
no, there's no dispute.
Yeah, there's
Appropriate position.
Or you live in Manhattan now.
I can see, I can see. I was never a large college sports fan or a college.
Mhm.
But, the importance of the university to the community and the economic foundation that provides.
Yeah.
Can't be overstated.
Yeah.
So,
Those numbers just came out here and it's little over $2.3 billion.
yeah, and as I learn more, I like it, I love it here.
Good.
My family, my young kids, they love it here. I call it, lovingly, I call it Southern Iowa.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's better than Iowa, the weather's better. And there's something special about Manhattan and Riley County that I haven't seen anywhere else.
Good.
Good.
Welcome.
Wow, welcome.
Yeah, well,
For sure.
and never stop serving the chocolate ice cream with salted caramel.
Never promise. You got my promise.
So you've tried it already, huh?
Yeah.
Chocolate?
So it's chocolate frozen custard.
Chocolate frozen custard. I called it the.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get in
With
salted caramel.
Salted caramel. I'm gonna have to try
Just
that.
ask for me if you come in.
I usually just stick with the straight vanilla, and so
Well, you gotta mix some stuff in there.
what's the most popular?
Oh, down here, the college kids do crazy stuff, but
Yeah, not college kids, old guys.
Yeah.
Old guys.
Reese's, Butterfinger, salted caramel,
Salted caramel sounds interesting.
marshmallow, peanut butter,
Mhm.
all strawberries, all raspberries, blackberries, blueberries, we got all.
As long as I'm giving you a list, also never get rid of the deluxe cheeseburger.
Oh, never. No, that bacon butter burger deluxe is mine.
And he didn't bring anything.
No, I seriously was going to. I thought,
There's no need.
I thought, I don't want to be seen as well.
Commissioners, you have a couple minutes.
Yeah,
If you'd like
if you want to go ahead and
yeah.
Podium.
come up to the podium,
Sure.
state your name.
David
Will work.
Yeah.
David Mullen, it's 3801 Monmouth.
How'd you spell your last name?
GEMOLL. And just a couple issues I wanted to bring up that are related, and personal to me and kind of selfishly about me. So, I live out on Marlot, the section that's unpaved. So 3801 between Top of the World Park and the rest. So there's 7 of us out there, on that. And Prairie Star has been paved, which, five houses are on. Mike Butler lives out at the end of that one, and then I'm next door to Tom Avenue. So I know this, paving this road has been an issue, or been talked about, and discussed and thought about over the years. I'm not privy to any of that story or whatever. But I'll bring up a couple of issues that maybe you're not aware of. There is quite a safety issue with that road not being paved. There is a significant amount of traffic and joggers with pets on that road. And when it comes dusk, even if a car was 200 yards in front of you and went down that road, you cannot see those joggers. There's a lot of activity on that road, not to mention all of the 18-wheelers that bring in to Beach Stockery. And then the maintenance of the road is awful. They do it once in a while, and after they do it, it's good for a few days. And then we're right back to just basically a mud road. And so I had heard some discussions about there was an issue with the little zigzag there. Right before you get to Prairie Star, and how that might have to be re-engineered or something. But I don't see it any different than the little zigzag on the east side of South Child. It's just equally. It's basically the same term. So I wanted to bring up that, primarily the air quality issue. The air quality is not good out there with all that traffic. And you can see this if you just drive down the road, you can see the entire landscape is coated with dust. And that's, we've noticed that. Of course, coming from Seattle and King County, air quality up there is pretty good because it rains every single day. So it seems to help.
Let me at the risk of being denied ice cream,
Yeah.
less than 1 minute.
Okay, so I'm sorry. I didn't know.
Just, I didn't want to interrupt what you got going, but I wanted to tell you.
I think you got the first issue. The second issue is my property taxes went up 40%. And what apparently has happened is the person who built my house, improved one section of the basement. That wasn't known to the county, and that became known when I purchased the house. That is literally a home theater, and it's costing me $18,000 a year. That seems oppressive. Danny Williams, I've been working with at the county on this, and he's verified that that number is correct. But it seems unruly to me to pay 40% more property taxes for a home theater.
And you got 3 minutes.
I got 3 more minutes.
No.
Oh, I hit your minutes. Oh, I landed
Perfectly. Perfectly killed it.
Nailed the landing.
That's why I was shocked when you stopped it right when I was getting ready to say that's 3.
I feel like public speaking, so I was used to it. Yeah. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Morning, Commissioners. Glad to see you on the Riley County Councilor. What I brought you today, did not get it in the packets because it's been within progress fairly quickly. But I want to kind of walk you through this proposed resolution. It's titled a Home Rule Resolution designating the plaza as that portion of the courthouse plaza for the exercise of constitutionally protected public free speech and assembly. By mouthful, it's accurate for what this is. I want to walk you through it, but to do so, I don't want, and I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I want to hit what the purpose is. And you can see that primarily if you go to the attachment A. Attachment A is a document you're familiar with, you've seen before. It's our existing plaza reservation request. What that does is some years ago, we started using this for people who wanted to have an event or basically engage in what we call free speech or public free speech or public assembly. There was some litigation going on across the country at that time involving town squares. I think that's the term that was used about local governments, even state governments to some degree, making available part of their public owned property for the exercise of First Amendment rights of citizens. And so the county developed over time this reservation request, and it's routinely submitted by anybody who wants to a local organization that wants to put on some kind of a event, maybe celebrating an anniversary of that group. We've had those, we've had things all over the place. And I don't know that any prior board, and I say you, this board, no matter who's been sitting in those chairs, I don't think ordinarily any of those requests have been denied. They certainly were never denied based on content. That isn't something that would be appropriate. You would not be able to deny access to a publicly designated space for exercise of First Amendment because you don't like what the person's going to say. Bad idea. That would not be good. That would be illegal. What you can't, that would be a violation of the Constitution of the United States. So let's avoid that. And I've never had to tell the board that. It's never been done. I don't anticipate it's going to be done in the future. There's no reason to. And the board has a long history of allowing the use of that space. And this particular space is really, it's thought of as the plaza. It's that area between the Carnegie Building and the courthouse. I mean, that's where those things have really worked well. We've had all kinds of, we had reach events out there. Couldn't begin to tell you how many things have happened there, but at this time, that same attachment A, what's on attachment A to this resolution has been used and it's worked well. The reason you have it is because you're allowed to do within the Constitution reasonable restrictions on that exercise of free speech. In that location, it's perfect because you have these restrictions that are 1 through 4, those reasonable restrictions. They deal with things like no loudspeakers unless it's approved by the board, and it was raised, quite frankly, primarily because the courts are in session during most work days, of course. And we can't, because of the proximity of that space to the courthouse, you cannot have a lot of noise or it disrupts ongoing trial work that's in their jury trials. You got to have jurors being able to hear what's going on. So ordinarily what the board has done is during the day, you normally don't approve loudspeakers for use, okay, by any kind of an approved event. You also have restrictions on in number 2, that those who are going to have this kind of thing are required to clean the area up at the end of the event. Reasonable restriction, not simply to trash the area and leave. Never had anybody try to do that. One reason is probably because they fill out this form and know that's part of their responsibility of the organization or group of folks that are going to use it. Also, no alcohol can be served or consumed on the plaza. And again, it keeps being referred to as the plaza. That's going to be important in what I'm going to describe here. The overall text of this proposed resolution. And then finally, this deals with access to those 2 buildings. Now, it does harken back to the courthouse, the time when you could actually go up the courthouse steps to get in the building. You can't do that now. You couldn't do it even before COVID because at that time there was a restriction placed on the building in order to prohibit concealed carry in the building, which the boards at that time made a decision to do because of changes in state law. You had to do what that board did. You had to put in place screening and personnel, and you had to limit one entrance of that building. And that's why the entrance exists where it does, is you have to go through screening and that sort of thing to get into the courthouse. It's a safety measure that's allowed, but you can only do that in that building. You can only close off those entrances once you do what was done, which is restrict one entrance to the building, and that's why it's set up that way. So this restrictions, but it still prohibits whoever's using that courthouse plaza, this reservation request. You can't have people lined up on those steps. You have to free the steps of that building. If you're going to have an event there, you have to free the steps, more importantly, to Carnegie.
The courthouse, aren't those fire exits? I mean,
You
they have to be,
can get out of them if you.
that's what I'm saying. They have to be open because those are.
Yeah,
fire exits.
I'm sure there's crash bars on those doors. You cannot seal people in the building.
Right.
So you just can't get into it. And so that would be another reason to leave the steps
That's what I was
free.
saying, leave, because I was saying those are emergency exits.
Good point. Good point. Yeah, hadn't even thought about that, but that's good analysis. But the key is the board's been using this for some time because it works. And it does it makes it clear, free speech is allowed there, free assembly within these reasonable requirements. And again, why are those reasonable requirements in place? So the county, through its various offices and in those 4 buildings that are in what is really the courthouse plaza, that's a difference from the plaza. The plaza is that space. This resolution makes it clear what has always been assumed by this reservation request, that the courthouse plaza includes 4 buildings, the ones that are named there. The one you're in, the Riley County Office Building, and then also the courthouse in Carnegie. It's those 4 buildings that comprise together the courthouse plaza. That's what everybody thinks about it in terms of when you're talking about using the courthouse plaza. So this resolution makes it clear that that's the space, that space in the plaza, that smaller portion of the courthouse plaza is where the free exercise of public free speech and free assembly is to be used with these restrictions. All this resolution does is say that. It makes it clear, and it gives the reasons why. It gives the reason what I just cited. The reason this resolution is in place is to clarify that those type of activities allowed there could actually disrupt the operations in the other buildings if they took place elsewhere in the larger courthouse plaza. So that's the point of this. It's important because in the upcoming year, we're going to have a lot of activity in the office building, quite frankly. And we've got to make sure that there's free access to both the public and to members of staff. And That's what's driving this. But it applies to any of the buildings. To make sure that if we're gonna have those events, whoever's doing it has to be reasonable and respect the fact that there's business being done in each one of these buildings, every day of every workday. And that has to continue unimpeded. So that's the purpose of this. Be glad to answer any questions that you have, but that's the short form, believe it or not, that was short. The short explanation, rather than walking you through the text, that's what this resolution does. It will become effective if you agree to that principle and that it's worthwhile to do. And if you sign it, then we will publish it as we're required to do, because this is a home rule resolution. This is one of those things that the county is entitled to do in terms of local government. They just not need permission from the state to do this. But you have to jump through the hoop of not only signing it, but then publishing. So minor add-on. If you didn't do that, it would not be effective, despite the fact you signed it. So if you approve it today, you'll be seeing it again in the newspaper. And that's why. Are there any questions about that?
Would this apply then to people that would come into the building to photograph what's going on and to that kind of thing?
Well, ordinarily, as long as you're in a public area and you're exercising, you're not disrupting anything, it's not going to stop that. It's not designed to meet those kind of concerns, because anybody that's in the building can do exactly what some that are interested in doing that for maybe a purpose that's not seems, overblown or whatever, as long as they're not interfering with the operation, and they routinely do not. They routinely do not. They routinely go into public spaces. That's one reason this resolution they got out here. We're not saying, we're not regulating free speech or free access within public spaces inside those buildings. We're saying that what you can't do by that activity is disrupt somebody's ability to get inside, to impede in any way somebody's ability to have access to that space. No, it's not intended to address what you just described.
Okay.
That is perfectly lawful activity. What you just described. So, and this also makes it clear that, again, if what you're doing is free speech, lawful assembly, and it's necessary for you to do business, if you need to bring 2 or 3 relatives with you because you have a concern about some issue involving property taxes or something, or property tax assessment, you've got an appointment, say, in the appraiser's office. This doesn't restrict you don't have to go to the courthouse plaza to meet with the appraiser in order to get that done. You can think of any number of examples. You're still exercising free speech. You're still exercising even a right of assembly if you're doing that, but you're not being prevented from doing that. I just want to make sure that anybody who reads this understands this doesn't prohibit lawful activity in those public spaces. We're saying there's a reason to designate something that is not involved with your particular county business that you're doing. It has to involve that if you're going to protect it through the use of saying this is free speech, this is free assembly. Examples would be getting a petition for something. It would have to be done over in that public space. Okay, public space that's designated for the exercise of free speech. That clarify? Okay. I next want to touch on the issue involving Senate Bill 162, the county's bill on nuisance abatement. I found out late yesterday that there's going to be a hearing on that on March 11th. It's going to be at 9 in the morning, of course, in front of House Local Government. I think it's important that we have representation there. With your permission, I'm going to go because it's an actual hearing. It's not an update. It's not anything like that. It's on the House side. It's already made it through the Senate. It would be good if a commissioner were available to go, if possible. I know that's asking quite a bit in your schedules, particularly as we head into March, but
When's the hearing?
March 11th.
It's up Monday.
March 11th.
That's the one we're talking about. The all county officials. Actually.
And it's not possible, that's okay, but you just want to make the pitch, you might think about it. And if you can't even, if it's not possible, for example, give you more time to think about it, we're going to have plenty of time in advance of that. This is a testimony to make that decision. But let me at least throw that out there for you to look at your schedule and see if.
I am just,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to be here at 11, so I don't know, I can make that turnaround.
I guarantee you can't.
Yeah.
Well, and then the impact on the county officials, once again, we may need to just cancel that.
Well, that's at 2. Yeah. We don't have to stick around for the entire hearing if we get.
No, but you can, as you know, gone into plenty of things while you're there too.
Yeah.
There's usually some debrief and some further discussions, and further planning sometimes. I'm just not saying that's essential. But that's, it's just, it eats up the morning. You can definitely lead up the morning.
Yeah.
At least. And you can always break away. But at least put that in your thoughts. Please consider it, and then we'll talk about it further. Let me know if one of you decides you are available. Because if nothing else, to be present to show in the past, if you don't have somebody there designated as a county official, elected official, then do you really care about the bill? So I want to avoid that.
Yeah.
They're not going to care that you're watching there. Yeah. Particularly as a registered lobbyist. That's less credibility. All right. Thank you. That's all I have.
Did you, commissioners,
Oh, yes.
motion on the resolution?
Wouldn't
if
even have to
you're
approve it.
ready?
Thank you, Rich.
With this. Basically, it's clarifying what we're already doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does. And that's the point.
I'd move approve resolution 22924, designating the plaza as a portion of the courthouse plaza for free speech for exercise of constitutionally protected public free speech and assembly.
I would second that.
Been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 022924. A resolution designating the plaza as a portion of the courthouse plaza for the exercise of constitutionally protected public free speech and assembly. All in favor?
Aye.
All
Thank you.
three, please sign.
And while we do have a few minutes, I wanted to at least address your first concerns there. We have talked about paving that particular part of Marlette, and the biggest challenge of that's going to be getting all the proper accesses along that road and along that curb to try to be able to do that. And to my knowledge, both from a legal and public works perspective, it's going to be almost nearly impossible for everybody that owns the property in there. So, but we have talked about it and continue to talk about it and maybe figure out something there. But
That's part of the township, isn't it?
That'd be Manhattan Township be
Yeah.
responsible for maintenance on the maintenance issue
As
concerning
far as the
what we
dust
talked
and that
about,
kind of.
maintenance on townships, and that's that's the best township we have. And
You're talking about the owners of the property there, K-State.
that's the big
that's the big one.
one. That's the big one.
So it's everybody else for the group.
Yeah, that's the big one. And there's a park there or something too.
Mhm.
The city,
Yeah.
city, is it city or state?
That I do not know.
That's
No,
a.
it's state.
Always been the biggest hurdle's always been K-State.
What's their logic behind not allowing access to do that?
I'm still trying to figure that one out.
All right, who's the person to talk to over there?
Yeah, who was the person to talk to there?
Linton.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I probably
It might
have
start at the top.
Yeah, that'd probably be the
Yeah.
You can talk to the
That's what you find
communications person to start with, Grant Hill, and he can,
Okay,
okay, he can probably get you lined out with the right person there.
okay.
Yep.
So if we clear that and move on, then we're in a better position.
I think moving forward, that would be a much better conversation at that point in time. I know moving forward, that whole particular corridor there is part of a larger discussion between both the county and the city. So, I mean, there's going to be dialogue there in the future, for sure.
And then
Where
always,
that's gonna go, I'm not really for sure, and I'm not making any promises, but yeah.
Central intersection
Yeah.
meeting.
and the biggest hurdle is the big dollar value that costs to do that.
Yeah.
You're talking about the intersection of Seth Trial. Yeah, that's a different challenge.
Yeah.
It's pretty damn different.
I guess on the second challenge there, the individual to talk to would be a county appraiser who's sitting on the end there.
Well, he said he's been talking.
But you've been working with Danny on there, and I'm really not the formula person on that one, so. I guess he's got a very expensive entertainment room.
Well,
Well,
there's lots of more to it.
there's more, you need less staff about
Yeah,
that.
it's
because
it's about value.
appraised value, what'd you pay for it and all that gets
Right.
involved, so.
Yeah, it all comes down to that extra square footage. That's
Yeah.
significant.
He's currently talking to staff on that, so.
Thank you.
Oh, that's.
See, your seat in the back is always the best.
You're the one who came back.
And she's taught me a lot about.
You'd install me that button, Anna, I can let you know.
Because I think I understand, you know, everybody's.
I think the button used to be.
Okay, Bob.
They will put it-
You're fine. I'm sure.
These were phones. Like that.
Yeah, they were phones, yeah.
Cute. It's 30.
Good morning, folks.
Good morning.
Say that, turn the lights out. Okay. Representing the Dane S. Boyd Trust and property owners Dane Boyd and Kimberly Ewing. Dane Boyd has made application to provide county planning and development requesting to rezone 3 unplatted land. SF1 single family residential back to agricultural district. The subject property is generally located approximately 1,150 feet south of Eaton Creek Lane on the east side of Vinson Lane. Sections 2 and 3 Township 11 South and Range 8 East in Jeandale Township. So this request straddles 2 different sections. The subject property consists of 3 contiguous unplatted tracts of land, 1 owned by Dane S. Boyd Trust and 2 owned by Mother Kimberly A. Ewing from SF1 single family residential to AG agricultural district. The applicant stated that he and his mother run cattle on land in conjunction with several hundred acres south of the subject property. You can kind of see that right in this area here. He stated that he wishes to continue to utilize the 3 tracts for agricultural purposes without the use limitations of the SF1 single family residential zoning district. Furthermore, the grass runway private airfield situated on the middle of the 3 tracts is also used for agricultural purposes, but is not a permitted use in the SF1 single family residential district. Finally, an agricultural exemption will need to be approved for the existing house, reclassifying it from a non-agricultural or to non-agricultural residence to an agricultural residence. It's kind of in reverse here. If the proposed rezoning is approved. So thus far, the applicant has received pre-approval for that agricultural exemption for the home. The property was zoned G1 agricultural during the 1974 zoning conversion process. The conditional use was approved in 1978, which allowed for the construction of 4 non-agricultural homes on 4 separate tracts in this area. However, the property is in its entirety was rezoned from G1 to A5 single family residential in 1978. So the zoning district name changed to A5 single family residential to SF5 single family residential in 2012.
into SF1, January 1st of 2022. There are no variances, conditional uses, or special uses associated with the property. The Roney County Fire District Number 1 will continue to serve the site. The nearest county fire station is Conza Valley Fire Station located at 300 Johnson Road. The subject site is located within 5 road miles of the fire station. Now, just a small portion of the extreme northeast corner of the center tract lies within the unnumbered A zone shown here in the yellow hatch pattern. And it's essentially the 1% annual chance floodplain with no base flood elevation shot. As you can see, this will have minimal impact on the development of the lot. And School Creek, a 4th order stream shown here in red, transects the extreme northeast corner of the center tract. The existing tributaries to School Creek are found on the westernmost tract, consisting of 2 small 1st order streams shown in orange that converge into a 2nd order stream shown in green. The request was reviewed with the 2009 Vision 2025 Roney County Comprehensive Plan, specifically the Development Guidance System of Chapter 12. Subject site is located outside of the jurisdiction of the 2015 Manhattan Urban Area Comprehensive Plan Studies area or study area, shown here in purple, and is within the jurisdiction of the Vision 2025 Comprehensive Plan. According to the future land use map found in the plan, the projected land use for the area is agriculture, although there is rural residential developed in the immediate area of the site. So nonetheless, the proposed rezoning of the property is in general conformance with the comprehensive plan. And I brought these up for the planning board. It's kind of just a review here to let them know when property is being rezoned. There's more to it than just looking at the future land use map. We also examined the criteria, the golden criteria of the Supreme Court, Kansas Supreme Court case, Golden versus City of Orland Park. And I just listed those through for, so they could see what they are actually making a recommendation on. So on August 1st, the Roney County Planning Board forwarded a recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners to approve the request to rezone 3 unplatted tracts of land from SF1 single family residential to AG agricultural district, as it was found to be in general conformance with the Vision 2025 comprehensive plan. Staff also recommends approval of the request to rezone those 3 unplatted tracts of land from SF1 single family residential to AG agricultural district for the same reasons. That concludes my presentation. If you have any questions for me on this, I'm glad to field those.
I did have a question on, it says the reason is because the SF1 has restrictions on it. What are the restrictions that keep people from doing what they need?
He's running cattle, and the SF1 district has a restriction as far as the number of cattle you can have, or stock animals. It's 1 per acre. Not that that would be an issue here, but the other issue is he uses this private grass runway for agricultural purposes. Check fence lines and things like that. There's a lot of property, and that private runway is not permitted use in the SF1 single family residential district. And it is in the AG district.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
So it's kind of
I just was, I'm just curious what the restrictions were.
Approving the request to rezone 3 unplatted tracts from SF1 to AG, agricultural district.
Second.
Okay. Been moved and seconded to sign resolution 022924, approving the request to rezone 3 unplatted tracts from single family 1 to AG agriculture district. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All 3, please sign.
You have Mylar and sign, Bob, or no?
no bother at this time. Thanks for asking.
Okay, how are you?
Thank you. Have a good day.
Sure. Good. You want to get rid of the picture? Let's see here.
Be real interested to see what our appraisal is compared to the pace.
I know, that's what, because generally that's what
Because
happens.
it's not just the theater.
It'd been, it'd been undervalued for a while. So
Exactly. That's
it's sold,
twofold.
it goes,
Undervalued plus an unknown.
yeah. The houses. Change ownership,
That's when those things get caught.
if you look on the houses for sale versus what they're appraised at,
Oh, yeah, for sure. People want their appraisal for tax purposes low, their appraisal for financing high.
yeah. Want to get a loan on a $400,000 house. $400,000 loan on a $300,000 house. Right. Haven't had the Culver's frozen custard yet. We've eaten that a couple times, but we've gotten there, we got the food. And then by the time we get done, the wine and stuff, so it's a mile long with them.
Yeah.
But Jan's dad, he's down in Branson. There's a Culver's nearby. Every time we went down there, we had to go get him some ice cream.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so some frozen custard.
Uh-huh. Yeah, good stuff.
He wanted, send her down with. But it was
Good stuff.
good. First time we provided it for wine.
Yeah. Wait till the newness wears off a little.
Actually got in there and then by the time we got in there a little bit. We out the time by the time we completed, the line was long.
Every time I go to Menard, it's a long line.
Yeah.
That's really caught on.
6 minutes. You got there last week. Yeah. So.
Was it good?
Yeah,
I wanted to know.
that's right.
Morning, Amanda. Maybe you should have came a little earlier. There's a fellow Washington State guy here. Morning, John. Morning, Shelley. Morning, Corey.
Good morning. All right.
Talking about here, So something money related?
Leadership.
Oh, okay, that was gonna be my second question.
Yeah, not this time.
Okay. All right, Elizabeth, go ahead.
Good morning, Commissioners. Elizabeth Ward, Human Resources Director. And today I actually have three of our department heads that are going to present to you about their experience with some of the leadership courses that we participated in 2023. My hope is for the commissioners to get a good feel of what's offered for the two different programs that we've most recently participated in, and see how you feel about the value to Riley County and continuing those into this year. We've got an opportunity to enroll in both of these programs and some other opportunities as well. So I'll let them come up and speak and you can ask questions as you go. Well, we'll start with Amanda, who was part of the Flint Hills Regional Leadership Program. So that's a local program here in Manhattan, and she'll give you all the details. Thanks, Elizabeth. Yes. Good morning, Commissioners. Amanda Webb, Planning Director. Yes, I had, I need to catch my breath for a second. You jump right up. You jump right up. Good morning again. Yes, I was fortunate to be part of the 2023-2024 Flint Hills Regional Leadership Program class. Again, thank you for nominating me and allowing me to be a part of that program. It was a great program. Lot of positives in general, but certainly for me, kind of personally, I've been here about 3.5 years now, which really in the grand scheme of things is still new, I would say. So it was actually really helpful to meet all the people I got to meet, and that's including my classmates as well as everybody in the different areas that we visited. Got to see kind of what's going on around the region and different areas, kind of just the resources, amenities. There's so much, you folks know, I mean, there's so much going on around here. It's really nice to kind of learn firsthand, from those folks, what's going on in each of their communities and the region as a whole. And just, there's so many great people doing a lot of great things here. And that's just been really exciting to learn and be a part of. And it might surprise some, I'm a little bit of an introvert. So I know, right? It's just crazy. So, I decided to really do my best to be outgoing and really take, good experience from this. Everybody in my class, I think there was 21 of us, just friendly folks, just nice people, just really good people, supportive, excited. Everybody was just so nice. So that made it a lot easier to, really kind of come out of my shell, if you will, and just really try to do my best to interact with people, learn about things, be a part of the program, really take good advantage of it. So each of the sessions, and those were kind of one to 2 days, roughly once a month. There was a couple of times we had a session twice a month when we first started. So we got to go to different areas around the Flint Hills region, of course. And we would just kind of learn about that area, meet a lot of people from those areas. Again, the amenities and things happening in those places. Got to do a lot of really cool tours. We did a lot of different interactive activities amongst our group, and then also with with the folks in the region. So just learning a lot of different skills. It wasn't just leadership, it was communication, collaboration, teamwork, visioning, all kinds of different things that we got to learn about together through various activities that were really cool. Let's see, again, touring a lot of different places. We got to go to the Alma cheese factory, so we got some cheese. That was pretty cool. So, and that was just one of the many places that we got to tour. So, that was really nice. Let's see, let me make sure I'm hitting some of my highlights here. And again, one of the big things with this program is not just, of course, leadership and teamwork, which is all very, very important, but again, the value of community, supporting our community and doing what we can, again, for the Flint Hills region. One of the things they have every class do is a class project, and we'll come back together in April to do ours. We were divided into different groups, and we all kind of came up with our own proposed projects, and basically we all whittled it down, to the one project that the entire class would do. And what our ultimate project is a cleaning and maintenance of Atomic Annie up there on the hill above, Fort Riley above I-70.
I don't know
So,
what
yeah,
that is.
so, yeah, it's a little cannon.
Mhm,
up
the
there.
cannon.
Oh, I do.
There
I
it is.
didn't know that had a name.
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah, they are.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I drive by that all the time. I didn't even get that done. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
They make you walk up there to go to
Yeah, I guess
Oh,
supposedly there's a path.
Huh.
So, yeah, so we'll get together at the end of April when the weather gets hopefully a little bit better and we'll go up there and do our class project and. The other thing, and again, I really can't sing this program's praises enough, it's a mouthful. But one of the other things that stood out to me, one of the things we got to do, there was a lot of donation efforts as part of this, which again, I thought was great. We were able to go to the Flint Eagles bread basket and gave them $1,000 from our class, collecting. I guess we set the record for this year. That's kind of the thing they do. They kind of try to challenge you to beat the previous class, which obviously is for a great cause. So we're gonna do it right. So we were able to give them $1,000 and over 300 pounds of food. So that was really cool that we were able to get that put together and do that for them. So any questions or comments on that? So again, I would highly recommend the program. I thought it was great. I'll be honest with that whole introvert being like, oh dear, what did I get myself into? But every day was it was fun, honestly. It was a lot of fun and learned a lot and met a lot of great people. So.
I want pictures from Atomic,
Okay, yeah,
whatever
yeah.
that is there.
Yeah, we'll definitely do that. So,
Okay, good.
thank you.
Good morning, commissioners. Shockingly, I have a PowerPoint. But I do want to start by.
You have a PowerPoint?
Yeah, there's not one on here.
Oh, my goodness.
Did not get submitted on here.
Let's go. I'm sorry. No, I had no touch. So yeah, I learned a lot as well from this. So I really appreciate you letting me go through this training. I liked how it was a blended learning, so it wasn't just reading through slides. There were videos. You could interact with people that were going through the same course. So I liked that blended learning. I started by.
Did you say it specifically as a different training than what?
Oh, yeah, this was the NAGO training.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah,
That's what I-
facilitated by Colin Powell was.
Yeah.
Highly in the videos. So, yeah, this was a different training, all online. So it was at your own pace, which I really appreciated too. So,
Over 12 weeks or something, that's so, yeah.
yeah. So I wanted to start by just listing my deficiencies, what I picked out as my deficiencies as a leader, and I came up with 4 of them. Confrontation skills, definitely building on that, but need to be better at my confrontation skills. Delegation, decision-making, and training, and I really did. So they went over, I just picked out some things that really stuck out to me and that I learned the most from. So 5 minds of a manager, they talked about the reflective mind, the ability to stop and think, reflect on past experiences to guide you through new ones. The analytical mind is the ability to simplify and establish measures. Worldly mind is the ability to lead contact between your organization and the world that surrounds it. Collaborative mind is the ability to foster partnerships. The action mind is the ability to facilitate emotions, aspirations, and motives of all people under your direction. So the training focused on how to be the weaver of all of those minds and how you really need a little of each to make changes happen and to lead a group. So it's important to look upon what others in your leadership team really where their strengths are and really to weave those skills together. So this is definitely something that I'll share with my leadership team as well. There was one lesson on delivering business value through effective communication. So this really stood out to me since that's one of my deficiencies. Powell was quoted by saying, "There's nothing worse than a leader who believes they have accurate information when folks who know he doesn't don't tell them." So I think it emphasizes the need to establish the expectation from each of your coordinators and supervisors to feed you the accurate information so that you know what you're talking about when you're up there. Defining communication is complex because it involves so many things like transmitting data, coordinating with others, and sharing feelings. The training mentioned that most leaders believe they're good communicators when in fact they're not always effective, and ineffective communication can be very expensive for your business or for your organization. Some characteristics of effective communication include setting expectations, providing the context or the why behind decisions and making sure that's communicated through your organization, being consistent with your message and practicing active listening. Then there was Goldsmith's Guide to Leadership, and they had 8 rules. I won't read you the 8 rules, but the one that really stuck out to me was picking the right thing to change. So looking at maybe a service that we're providing, or maybe a mode of evaluation. Does it serve the purpose anymore, or is it losing its value? And does that thing need to change? And then moving that in the right direction for that change. Also, when talking about measuring success, also other than measuring the numbers of clients and patients and services that we provide, try measuring soft skills as a leader. So did I spend enough time with this program this month, or did I spend enough time with this supervisor? So looking at more of the soft skills. And then they talked about the Bridges transition model. So it's basically 3 areas of change. Ideally, but never in reality, everyone embraces the change, and that white space here at the top is the new beginning. That's where you want to move people to. But many people are in that light orange or the neutral zone. So they're not really ready to commit to that change, enjoying the new beginning. Employees in the dark orange, or kind of the one below, are committed to the status quo and that existed prior to the change. And they view the change as a process of ending or losing or letting go. So unfortunately, you're going to have some people in that area. So the goal is to find out where your people are. So maybe by a survey or just by talking to people, find out where they are, and then get to move them into the white space that you want them to be in. And it may be a process. It may take a little longer than you anticipated, but to get them there, you have to let them know that this is a benefit for them and walk them through that process. And it may take a little longer, but I thought that was interesting, the model. And then lastly, the 4 strategies of positive leadership, positive relationships, positive communication, work climate, and meaning. And they related all 4 of these things together by saying, if you're deficient in one area, it's probably going to bleed over into other areas. If you're not doing well in your communication throughout your programs, that's going to bleed over into the work climate. And I related that to a presentation that I did on campus. It was a wellness wheel, and there's like 7 different areas of wellness. So the emotional wellness, financial, I can't name them all right now, but there's several different areas of wellness. And if you're not doing well in one area, like financial wellness, you're probably not going to do well in other areas. That's going to bleed over into other areas. So just interesting how they were all related together. So those are some of the things that I learned, and I gained a lot from this training. I really appreciate it. So, any questions, comments? Thank you.
Remember Colin Powell talking about the effective communication when I heard a panel discussion in person while he was still alive. So I remember
Yeah.
talked about that. It's very important to him.
Well, Corey Meyer, ITGIS director, I took the same training that Julie did. And unfortunately, my experience was quite a bit to the opposite. While the materials I do agree with were there, I didn't get a lot of takeaway from it. And I think that mostly because when it got to the end of each week, you needed to meet with your group and collaborate on those things. I had a very weak group as far as the people that I interacted with. Also, by the time we got to the 4th week, there was only 4 people in our collaborative group versus where they were trying to have 10. So that made it really difficult, especially when the others in the group were all more of a manager, or they were not actually managing at all. They were just somebody who had aspirations of becoming somebody within management and lead. So it made it more of a Q&A session of them asking me or me going over scenarios where the materials that were there, here's how I've seen it in my work and where I've applied those. And so I ended up feeling a little bit like a teacher versus a participant on some things. But the part that for myself is that a lot of the leadership styles, the various ones talked about, I could see where I didn't know what maybe some of the terms were that for my leadership style. And so there were reassurances there again that the way I'm doing things or the way I'm working within my department or we're interacting with other departments or down in as well as to the commission, that I'm doing those things effectively in the right way. I I guess if you had to ask me, was it worth the money spent for myself? No. But I also see where it could be. I do think a department probably like the health department where the structure is different as well. They almost have internal departments within the department. And so there was and I can see where a lot of information could be taken to the team and disseminate down and how we work up and down through that. So I saw both sides. But for me specifically and those kind of things, I didn't get much from it. So, and I think that there's a large part in how kind of things played out. We just had people dropping out of our group, and when they got to the point and said, well, we're not going to rearrange or shuffle anymore. And so, we get to that. He said at the end of the week, and you're supposed to have an hour of collaboration, and we'd be done in 15 or 20 minutes, and we'd be off. But some of the interesting things, one of them in our group was he was within the HR department at St. Louis County, and they're all fully remote. Their entire HR department in the county is all fully remote. And so he doesn't see faces and people for, weeks at a time. And so here you are in a deal, and you're trying to talk about leadership and interactions and things, and his interactions are all. And so this is where it got interesting, and it got a little bit difficult for how you would go through the class.
Those people from St. Louis,
Yeah.
you just know how that works, right?
And so I did like the part of talking with and talking about how we do things here at Riley County. And I will say some things that were reassuring that we're doing well, though. When I talked about department head meetings and those kind of things that we do, they were all from county government. They don't do things like that. They don't have intergovernmental luncheons. They don't have department head meetings where they get together with their commission and discuss things. None of them did. And so it was kind of disheartening, but it was also really reassuring and made me proud of where I work at and how we do things here, because it shows that we're a lot more efficient, I think, in how we're doing it, and we can move the needle quicker in the way we handle and do our business here at Riley County. So I do appreciate getting to go through it, and I think that that'll happen too, is that some will have different experiences that you take away. So I'm not one to say that it shouldn't be continued. We send some too. It just kind of the way it all played out, it goes so far. So.
Thank you, Corey.
So Commissioner, I don't know if you have specific questions about either program that you want to talk about. I will say last year you collectively, we presented and you agreed to send 2 people to NACO and 1 person to Flint Hills regional leadership. We plan to bring a proposal to participate in those programs again, but so I wanted to get this in front of you before we did that, so you could think about, the value, and if you have input on particular people that you would like to send, if you decide to send people. We do have a discounted rate for NACO again this year. So that's helpful if we're not paying the full rate. But it's not, neither one is free, obviously. So there's some time commitment. And I guess from talking to these 3, there's time commitment for both, but there's a lot of homework and a lot of, every week is commitment from NACO. So we want to take that into consideration when we're assigning people as well, or nominating people to go as well.
Yeah, NACO was quite kind to see that. I think Julie probably agree that, you gotta stay on task. If you wait until Friday on that, you've got a lot to catch up on. When I did they called, I don't know if they called to ask how your experience was and things. So I told them I liked the way it laid out, but I thought when they got to the end of the week, they really got to drive more scenario based, in that you have this scenario that's come up and how would you handle it, and really kind of drive more of a conversation that way versus this week's material is what we're talking about. We'll put a scenario to that. When situations come up, an issue with an employee, we really drive home some of that so they can do those things. But NACO is guidance. In a lot of videos, I do like the mix of it though, and the way they did some of it. But yeah, It takes some
It's
time.
gonna- yeah.
Yeah.
I remember, David Adams was talking about that. I think he was the first person to do that, if I remember right. He
I don't know for sure if he's first, but he definitely had a great experience. He's
Yeah.
talked to us about it multiple times.
said it was, he used the word challenging.
Yeah. And when we looked at this last year, we were very strategic about who we proposed to go and what we wanted to be able to support in their leadership growth. There is an idea to really get our department heads as appropriate, as with time allows, trained, and then potentially those departments who have an assistant director, so that you can really incorporate that, like Julie was talking about sharing with their
Yeah.
leadership group, but really incorporate those internally, because the whole point here is, I mean, I love that these guys had a great experience and grew professionally, but the whole point is to bring that skill back to Riley County, to make us stronger too. So, and I guess that's our thought with Amanda. I know when we nominated Amanda particularly, with her situation and the way that she does the planning in the county, we thought it would be extremely valuable to have that network and understand who the people are that are making those decisions and impacting her work. So.
Okay.
Yeah, so I don't know if you have thoughts or direction now, or do you want to?
I'll just I know NACO's doing something different this year because it's an anniversary year. They've got like 3 for something. I don't remember what it was right off the top of my head.
I don't either. I can't quote you the price, but yeah. So I'll bring back a proposal, and they have one starting in April for NACO, but I wanted to make sure and get these guys in front of you. So we'll probably focus on the last 3
Okay.
as potentials. All right, thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Commissioners have Shelley Woodard at 10:05. Hey, Michael.
Yeah. I know. You should get credit. Yeah, I mean, I think it's just, it helps. It's not just you.
You're still trying to do this. Over and off of the- and I don't think it's. It's what's like this thing. Because I said- We have no how you get water.
Okay. Okay.
Get you there.
Okay. Good. Well, we.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hi, how are you?
I do.
Okay. Good. How have you been?
Still doing the track thing or with the house country?
Yeah. Yeah, so we're gearing up for another round of that side. Yeah, like I said, she doesn't want to coach it anymore. It's kind of organize it and let the coaches take it. He's a bunch of psychology and high school kids that will coach it. And then Tony Wishman, he was yeah. I think he's kind of so that's.
Still.
No, no, better. It's okay. So kind of. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Yeah, I think it's fun. Yeah. Yeah, because I wasn't in the animal control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At some point, you know.
So it's a little more. Yeah. Yeah.
All this information. So they can get the right information out, they're kind of that's. Well, they do all of it, it's something that. I didn't want to ask me questions, and just be. Yeah, that's, and they want to go on in the future too, it's. Because they actually do this, which is also not sure. So. One of the things, is people that have more than one block.
That's awesome.
It keeps coming up, and we get out of it. So, or what is the path that they wanted to? They should have bring plots.
I mean, they could have, so how it was determined though, even if they talk them together now, they're still, it's still capable.
Yeah. It should have. information. No, people like that, you know, it's just. But anyway, no, that's it, that keeps coming up, but there were, the one thing, this wasn't one of the sales, one of the ones get started by our, it's like, how long it's gonna take and what's the cost gonna be, so, you know, we're looking.
I believe this next week is the set fees where they are Shelley, I know she's over there, Shelley, I know. Off her head, too. Yeah, but we've signed the contract with them, so it's all. So it's been a lot of, yeah, it's just a matter of, I guess, kind of getting our schedule and making sure. That we can, yeah, get on their schedule. I guess, Jeff. So just kind of. So it's on social.
Yeah.
Right,
But we'll curiosity kind of looking into things here.
Well, and I know Brian to answer some of his questions.
That makes sense.
Go about, you know, just, it's gonna be asking you big things.
It's gonna be kids out of it.
It's essential.
Yeah, there's nothing cheaper than that area either. It's expanding. I was driving over there to work yesterday after the speech I gave over the conference, and I had kind of realized how much that is expanding over there.
Sorry, dude.
Yeah.
He's been really busy.
Yeah.
Nice.
So.
You know, big lots.
Yeah.
It's a nice area. Oh, yeah.
I told her, I stopped, we should come up. He's done.
Yeah, yeah. Absolutely.
Well, we're making some progress, and you know, what, how long is it gonna take, well, maybe about a year, once we start. Doing like construction.
So that'll be a little bit.
So, chamber is, financing.
Right, yeah, and that's another big picture also. They want you to know all of our financing, you know. Should be making 6 more stuff.
Yeah, prices here, and it's, which I probably have seen that. So how much it needs.
Yeah.
It's a big, that's there.
Yeah.
VHS.
Oh, yeah. It's a lot fast, right?
VHS, we never paid money. Oh, so that's the only case, and that's why I didn't know, because I know it's gone down, but. Yeah, there's 3 instructors, I think it's right, remotely 7 times. Yeah. Yeah, so that's the only thing concerned about, nothing should be hard. Well. The architects will serve on. Deal with that. That I just wanted, total numbers, how much you had, you know, you see how much.
So. Okay, yeah, and those expenditures that is on the schedule.
Yeah, but.
Okay, yeah, I think about it.
Everybody's already in line with the rest of them.
Oh, yeah. And then. Yeah. And it's. Right.
How you guys doing? Very, you're coming fine. Up here, one of the other, regular. Yeah, that's great. Yeah. Gee, the dad just getting up here. Probably has a little over there. I said, good, as long as you got out the law. I said, I will.
Hey, Shelley, go ahead.
Good morning, commissioners. So as you know, we've been talking a lot about animal control the last week and a half or so, and that's the continuation of this discussion. And the city of Manhattan and White House have graciously agreed to come and have a conversation with you today regarding the county's potential desire to contract for animal control services. I know they would like to discuss some more of the scope of services that we would like, and I know that you had questions on some of their recent changes in operations with animal control. That's why it would be more able to answer than I would. So I'm mostly just here to introduce Wyatt. And then I'm here as well if you have any questions for me, but got Mr. Thompson here from the city of Manhattan. Like I said, he's graciously agreed to come and have this conversation today. Thank you.
Good morning, commissioners. I also have Chief Scott French with me today. He is the chief at Manhattan Fire Department, and he now supervises our animal control officers. So we're going to tag team this discussion to make sure that we get you the information that you desire, and we hear what you desire in terms of a potential contractual relationship for animal control services. Just by way of introduction, just to bring everybody up to speed, in December, the city contracted with Prairie Paws Animal Shelter, and they took over operations of the T. Russell Wright Animal Shelter on December 24th. Prior to that, on December 1st, the animal control officers shifted from the shelter to Manhattan Fire Department, and they've been under Scott's supervision since that time. We have a close relationship, obviously, between the animal control officers and the staff at Prairie Paws. And so we, as we pick up animals, we take them there and they intake them and then try to rehome them or, do whatever needs to be done on the shelter side of that operation. Scott could speak in more detail about some of the changes that have occurred in animal control since December. And then really, we'd like to hear from you all as to just have a conversation about what services the county desired, what that potentially would look like, how we could perhaps fill the gap that you have. It is a complex issue, I will tell you, from working in the animal shelter, supervising that for the last year and a half before Prairie Paws took over. I've learned a lot. I know Scott's learned a lot since December. Here to help you learn as well. So that we can have a good partnership and make sure that the community is served. So, Scott, do you have any comments?
No, not really unless I think. I'm curious what you want to know, and I'm curious if I've learned that part of it yet. So
Okay. Yeah. I'm assuming that this service is under the code services or risk management. I mean, it's
actually right now that they're I'm their direct supervisor, so they report directly to me.
okay.
One of the things that we've found is they like a lot of policies and procedures. Where they were, a lot of things needed updated. I need to know what they're doing, and so the easiest way at this point is to have them work directly with me, because all the other supervisors are pretty busy at the moment. So.
And when you're looking at something as the contract with us, I guess, for the animal control out of the county, are you looking at it per use or a general overall for the year program, or have you looked into that enough yet to know?
I think it depends on what you ask us.
Okay.
We're here at your request, is our understanding, to talk through what the possible contract could look like. I don't know that. So we need you to tell us what services you would desire, or what services you feel like you need, or the problems that you have, that maybe we can align our services to those issues. But we don't know any of those details about what your county residents are experiencing in terms of animal control issues. I know that Shelley's been working on updates to your resolution. And I was here for part of the presentation on Monday, when we talked about Seco Park, and we've reviewed the draft resolution. So we're familiar with some of that background. We also understand that you've been in conversation with Prairie Paws. I don't know the status of that contract, if that is something that is moving forward or not, but so like I said, we're here to learn as well about, what your needs might be and how we match up.
And I can provide you a little bit of background. I guess, we do have 3 animal control officers currently. We typically work a 7-day week, so we have 2 on, excuse me, 2 on from 8 to 7, 8 to 6 Monday through Friday, excuse me. And then we have one on Sunday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. That's Saturday and Sunday, and then we have on call 7 days a week. Now, what will happen is if they are off, we don't backfill that, so they will go without a control officer for any period of time that they're off. For example, last week we went to a conference. It was a 3-day conference. We didn't have any animal control available for 3 days. Talked with our CPD and they were prepared. So if there was an emergency or a dangerous dog that we had to pull somebody, we would come back and take care of it. But that's basically all we have operating today.
And so the animal control officer's focus is enforcement of city ordinances related to animals. And those are ordinances that haven't been updated on our side for quite some time. And so we have a list of things we're considering. We haven't taken those actions to the city commission for their consideration yet, but internally we've been working on updates. And I know from speaking with Shelley, there was some desire to perhaps align portions of the county resolution to the city's ordinance, which as it stands today, I think that's probably been done in terms of your draft. But just know that we're planning to change multiple sections of our animal control ordinances in the future. So there may be a need to realign if you want to kind of match up with certain sections of what the city does. The ACOs are dispatched through Riley County Police Department. So if you're in the city and you see a loose dog or you have an issue with a dog or whatever the question might be, you can call Riley County Police Department through their non-emergency number. And then they would get that information to our animal control officers who would, provide the appropriate response. Sometimes that is a callback to an individual to provide them information. Sometimes it is a report to a scene to locate or trap a dog. There's a whole variety of situations that come up. So.
I think maybe a good place to kind of start to is to make sure that, assuming that we can come to an agreement, which I think as long as we continue to go the dialogue, I think that's kind of likely, the county still has a desire for the control services. Is that fair?
Yeah.
And that we still have a desire to work on that for that.
Yeah.
And then I know, and he's kind of already talked about scope of services. So one of the things we talked about, and I think would be good to bring up here is patrol versus complaint calls that are, we talk about, we're not really looking for patrols out in the county sense.
Right.
Like somebody calls in and, because there's no problem and handle that more kind of scope of services that we're in.
Somebody realizes that animals have been dumped or something along those lines. I've always envisioned it as being more of a per case basis where
Wouldn't expect anybody patrolling like that.
Yes, yeah.
But before, what we had for years, I guess, was the contract was supposedly with AMP for animal shelter and animal control. I realized the animal control quit a couple of years ago without letting us know. And what people told me in North County, that when you called the police department saying there was a problem dog, they said, well, we can't do anything. And the residents told me that they said if it's a problem dog, you got to shoot it. Now, I talked to the police department. That isn't exactly the wording they used, but that was that's what it amounted to. They didn't use those words exactly, but that's what it amounted to. Is we're not doing anything. You've got to take care of it. And we'd like to see something different than that.
Yeah, so the city's having ongoing conversations with the police department as well regarding animal control. Within the city, if there is not an animal control officer on duty, Raleigh County Police have the authority to go execute whatever actions are needed relative to an animal. Now, it's at their discretion as to whether they do that, but they are the enforcement mechanism for all city ordinances, including the animal ones. And so obviously we desire a higher level of service. We desire a more specialized level of service. So our animal control officers have certain training and equipment.
Yeah.
And you know, that works with police department to enforce those situations or ordinances. There are times, you know, there's state law at play as well. And so if a violation of state law occurs within limits, our animal control officers don't have the authority to enforce those state laws. We have to rely on our CPD in order to do that. And the same would likely be true in the county, where even through a contractual relationship, we may or may not have authority. That's something that our attorneys would have to help us guide through that process. But what authority would a city animal control officer working for the county have to enforce your county resolutions and or the state statutes that might come into play in some cases? So abuse and neglect is one of those things that comes into and under that state statute, not so much as a municipal ordinance. I know you have abuse and neglect in your draft resolutions, and so we have to figure out if that's something that an ACO would enforce or be able to enforce, and just what that scenario would look like. And there's lots of those types of scenarios, and I think we have to work through a clear understanding of what the expectation is and what our abilities are as a municipal organization that does not have a law enforcement arm. I will say most other cities and counties with a police department or a sheriff have animal control services built into those structures. Manhattan is unique, obviously, with our consolidated law enforcement. So it presents these type of challenges that we're talking about, where we have multiple entities now needing to work together, as well as a privatized shelter operator, to work into the mix as well.
What do you know, offhand, how many calls you get from the county residents at this point, and they're not being serviced, or?
They call the police, and that's what.
They call the police?
Yeah, so they probably don't get that information, or maybe you're starting to now that it's.
Sometimes it is part of the spending report each morning from what calls were received by dispatch. But the easiest way is to get a hold of our CPD and ask them to run a spending report on animal calls within the county. They can break that out. I just don't have.
Okay.
The other place that residents are calling, from what I've heard from staff at Prairie Ponds, is they're calling the shelter directly. And I mean, I've asked them to keep track of, keep logs of the number of calls and the type of calls that are coming from outside the city. And they haven't provided that to me yet. And this was a conversation we had a few weeks ago. So I would expect as some more time happens, I'll get data for you.
Yeah.
They'll have, in a couple of months, they're not gonna have.
Yeah, they've talked about a lot though. Like, I mean, they've mentioned dozens a week to me of calls for service to the shelter. Now that may be shelter services, that may be animal control services. I don't know the breakdown of those calls, but they're feeling, according to what they've told me, some of that pressure from county residents.
Yeah, and I've gotten complaints from people that they call and they can't figure out what to do. Somebody says call the shelter, somebody says call the police. It's just, and in the meantime, the animals are running loose and causing problems. So that's where we need to probably get something figured out here pretty soon. So.
And I will say that one of the things that we do struggle with, and we've had the calls where they're at the county city line, things of that nature. The problem is if they're in the county, we don't have the ability to take them to the shelter. So without a shelter agreement between Riley County and the shelter, it's gonna be tough for us to be able to do anything.
Yeah, really, both of these things have to kind of be coordinated.
Yeah.
Why does the city have any other questions as far as scope? That seems to be clarified.
So I heard no need for patrol which is good. That's a costly service, and we probably couldn't provide that even if you wanted to, just based on our staffing levels.
So definitely not 24 hours a day,
Yeah,
for sure.
So, you know, an on-call kind of, not on-call, kind of a complaint base, you know, as citizens call. I think an understanding of where your resolution is going will be very important. And again, those questions of are we enforcing, would the city be enforcing the county's resolutions? Or is there another mechanism where a county official determines their resolution or that a violation has occurred? And perhaps animal control brings the expertise in the animal capture and handling and transport. But where we're working with one of your staff who's actually administering the violation of the resolution. And then once that's determined, we take the animal, transport it to the shelter. And then you would deal with the shelter and the owner from that point forward. That's actually a much simpler process for us. And allows you to retain more authority over the administration of the violation potential. There's a lot of things in your current resolution that we don't have experience with, dog fighting, cockfighting. There's some other, there's other, livestock issues that I don't know if those was entertained in the resolution as an animal control monitoring for horses or, things like that. But those are things we don't deal with in the city at all. So.
I'm actually kind of used to it.
Okay, that's
Okay.
yeah, that'd be great.
Everybody, so the way our resolution is written is most of the county counselor's office or the county attorney's office, depending on the situation, as you recall, we talked about things like animal abuse and neglect is really handled by Barry's office versus ours. So those we would retain control over the outcomes of different cases and stuff as far as that goes. We didn't put much in the way of livestock in there. That is largely controlled by state statute and more of animal abuse collecting situations. There might be some slight references in there, and I'm happy to continue to work closely with your attorney staff on kind of what that looks like and what our understanding is of that. I know we only have a couple of minutes left. I have it, so we have a lot. I think this was a good opening discussion on this. I think that we have, I think it was an idea of what the county's looking for, what the city has available. Would it be maybe a good idea to consider continuing this conversation at a city county meeting? Where we can really sit down and go through more specifics of what we do, and that way I can work closely with the attorney so we can draft up and
A city county would be fine with me. Obviously, I mean, our commissioners aren't briefed yet on any requests from you all. We wanted to have that conversation first, and ultimately the commission, I think, would be the signature on the agreement with you all. I mean, I think we're happy to work and administratively with your staff, whether that's Shelley or Shelley plus other people, to kind of work through more of that education and more of those details. I don't know who else. I know we do work with Julie in the health department. There's a portion of our resolution that asks the city county health officer, actually, it's old language from the time when we had the joint city county health department. That's one of the things we want to clean up. But there are some shared responsibilities between the health department and the animal control that we have a temporary fix for through some letters that have been shared, but we would like to solidify that a little bit more. So whoever you all think could be a part of the conversation, I would suggest we work at a staff level to provide more information and then maybe have another conversation here with some of the findings and recommendations that came from that work.
Oh, yeah. It's good, works.
Yeah.
parties having last minute questions. We have like 1 minute.
Is the idea of an animal control officer serving as that capture and transport function only? Is that something that you would entertain? Obviously, we could look into provide more detail and scenarios, but is that philosophically kind of just a piece of this where a city is involved, something that you would consider?
That's what I would assume. Yeah, we'd be looking at. Yeah.
I think so. Good. I need to see the details and what the scope of services and obviously the cost of that service is going to be. And
I guess
those finishing pieces, but along the general lines.
I just compare that to a more full service, which would be the city is deputized, so to speak, to actually enforce the resolutions in a way where this would be, we show up when you determine that a violation has occurred. And then we capture, transport, handle the animal, which is where our expertise, and we understand you don't have that expertise in your code services office maybe, but maybe they can handle the violation and some of the investigation, but I don't know, we can talk more.
Sounds good. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Next commissioner, you have Elizabeth Ward at 10:25.
Go ahead.
Okay. Want to make sure. Good morning again, commissioners. Elizabeth Ward, Human Resources Director. And I'm here today to kind of continue a conversation that we started, well, really, we started this conversation on kind of intensive improvement almost 2 years ago now, and we've done a lot of work towards it. And we had a last conversation a couple months ago when we were looking at kind of changing our hours, and we said that really wasn't a good fit for Riley County. And so let's look at potential leave times and how that works. And so I just have a couple points. I'm not going to read the whole memo here. I think you guys got that down, but I want to kind of iterate this section here where we talk about positions open, and to kind of give reference to that. I think most of the hiring managers in the room and probably the commissioners remember some of that strife from 2022 when we were really having a lot of open positions. We were not getting a lot of candidates. And when we did get some candidates that were, really meeting the job requirements, it was sometimes difficult to even get them through the door to have an interview. And so I know you guys heard that a lot from department heads. I will say that applying and interviewing trend still is a problem across the nation. And just interestingly enough, the unemployment section of the federal government has looked at some ways to resolve that. So they've actually created a reporting hotline. So if someone applies and has an interview and doesn't show, we as employers will now have the opportunity to report that. So that they're not just maybe checking a box to continue to get unemployment insurance. So that has still continued to be a challenge in our labor market, although we are getting quite a few more applications and qualified applications. And so, looking at the 23 and 24 numbers, the average, if you just take the math, the average is about 35 applicants per position. We obviously have some specialized positions like the attorney's office, which we received 5 applications for. And honestly, that's a great pool. That's an amazing pool of candidates for that position. And then we have other positions. One position received 200 applicants. More of an entry-level position, right? Really great job, a great place to grow. But we are getting candidates now, and it has helped a lot. So the one thing though that I'm here to talk about today is not just the candidates, but the retention. I would present that probably the most important group of employees that we need to recruit is our current employees. And so that's kind of a concept it's newer, it's in the last 5, 6, 7 years, but thinking about how do we retain the talent that we have, and how do we make employees like this look like and feel like and reality be the place that employees choose to stay. So I think that's really important, and that's what we're talking about here. It's difficult to find 2024 numbers. So I did use the Gallup number in 2023. They really haven't gotten any, even the reports that have come out in January and February are referencing 23. But as of the end of 23, 51% of employees, so those people who are employed, were actively seeking new job opportunities. And that's a nationwide statistic, but so I can't tell you specifically that more than half of our employees are actively seeking. I mean, I won't people know. But I do think we want to be aware of that, right? So back in April of 22, when we were having some of those challenges, the commissioners put together a work group, and it was a work group from all strata of our employees to look at what our employees value the most. And they, just as a reminder, put on that, kind of ranked those as first equitable pay, expanded leave time, and a retirement match. And We did have 205 employee responses. We average about 270 regular employees. So to kind of give you an idea of that. The commissioners did address the equitable pay concern. And you guys remember that, we went through that, and it has really made an impact with some of those numbers that I just recently talked about. We really are making progress with that. We also were presented and you guys looked at and considered that compressed work week, not a great fit for us at this point. And so we talked about, and I think some of the department has brought up in that meeting, the potential of looking at extended leave time, and got the direction from the commissioners to go and really research that option. So that's the information that I want to provide today. Right now, in this section here, in this middle section, you can see, and this information you've seen before too, but compare municipalities and the private companies that would share their information. We are not accruing PTO at a comparable rate. There is a misconception. The second problem or challenge that I think we have is that there is a misconception employees have about an extended sick leave, and it's caused some real negativity towards the benefits. So I'm going to try to talk about those 2 points. They're separate, but they both go into the leave equation. All right, so starting out in reviewing our PTO, and I do have an attached kind of spreadsheet so you can see numbers specifically, but we're accruing 29 days per year. And in the 10-county comparison, we have the lowest rate of accrual. So that was between 30 and 47 days annually. And again, you guys do have that comparison spreadsheet there that you can look at and kind of see who's what where. I will say, to be completely transparent, everybody calls their leave a little bit different. So some people have sick leave and vacation leave, or they have a PTO pot that might include it all. We have annual leave, and that doesn't, so this all includes everything that a person would accrue and be able to use. So it includes vacation, sick leave, holiday, personal leave. Some of them do have personal leave that's a separate kind of, that includes everything that they can accrue and use at their discretion. All right, and so this I think was interesting, and it's higher than the last time that I presented to you. So this portion here is a downward trend, not a negative trend. As of this last pay period, we had 32 employees that have less than 2 days of annual leave available to them. So if they had an unexpected leave or something that came up with their family or themselves, they would have less than 2 days available. And more concerning as well is that 21 employees have less than 2 days of ESL, which is our short-term disability. It's like an internal short, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But if these employees, something drastic would happen, or even something that's a week long, they would be on leave without pay, which would then cause potentially financial instability, potentially issues with their continued employment. And we would work with everybody and we would do our best to make sure benefits were continued to be paid, but that is a number that was, if my memory is right, it was around 19 or 20 the last time that I presented to you. So it's concerning. So in order to kind of initiate this, and honestly, the department heads through their meetings kind of brought up this proposal for expanded leave accrual, and it coincided with the work group's study. So the department heads are seeing that and hearing that as well. And we really believe that by adding time to our employee benefit package and educating employees on how PTO works, which I'll get into that sick leave kind of situation and misconception in a minute, that Riley County actually will have more engaged and productive employees. It's similar, I was thinking when Julie was presenting, it's similar to like, if you have a concern in one area, it spills over to the other area. So if I have a concern and I'm off because I have a medical leave and I have no pay coming in, and all of that compounds, and it makes for a stability point with our employees. And it actually, there are some key components of that personal day, which I'm also proposing is a separate leave day, and it's held separately. It doesn't accrue. It doesn't add up. So year over year, it doesn't roll over. You have to use it in your day. It's actually that specific benefit has been shown in many studies, and they're supported by Sherman, some Gallup studies and some different things, to be a real morale booster, because you use it as a whole day of leave. You go on leave. And it's not about, trying to manage whether or not you've got an appointment or you've got this amount of time, and it is a real morale booster. All right. So, and then I did quote that Society of Human Resources, the SHRM study that showed that the personal day off helps employees become more engaged, productive, and when they return to work. So this is our first proposal and ask. The work group and the department heads propose expanding leave accrual and a separate personal day, which will not accrue from year to year. And I'll show you the comparisons of what that would be to in a moment. I mentioned earlier, we also have a misconception about ESL, which is ESL stands for extended sick leave. I hopefully can express the negative impact that we've had on retention with the misconception of ESL. ESL is an amazing benefit. It's a benefit that private organizations don't have. It's a benefit that most municipalities in our area have, but not all. And really what it is a internal program for short-term disability. So you're not allowed to touch the ESL unless you have a sick related reason for more than 3 consecutive days. It is not meant for the flu or the cold. It is meant for a longer term disability for yourself or a family member. And that way you have consistent financial assistance through a health related issue. So it's not, the problem is that it is seen as sick leave that as an employee I'm not able to use. So people misunderstand that our annual leave, what we currently call annual leave, is both vacation and sick leave rolled into one. It's one pot of what has become popular is just paid time off. That really what it is paid time off. It's a pool of paid time off that people can use for whatever purpose they have. So what I'd like to do, and I think I've kind of explained most of that, it's not used for cold or flu. What I'd like to propose and what the committee has proposed is really a cultural change to ESL. We really want to call it what it is and explain it what it is. Another one of the counties has using and has had success with the term critical leave. And the point is to educate employees on the importance of having this short-term disability bank of paid leave, but it's not a sick leave. I'd like to take sick completely out of the title, not discuss it being a sick leave. It is really for those times that are critical or more impactful than a 1 day off or a 2 days off. So with the combination of the additional PTO and the rebranding and explanation and education of critical leave, we believe that the effect on the employee engagement will really have a big impact. Financially, and I know I've talked with several department heads about this, and I think that we've kind of talked about it at the commission. There isn't an impact to the budget for 2024 or 2025. The budget is already approved. This leave days would not increase that. We have every day covered. There is an impact to productivity. And I think there's kind of a misconception of some supervisors saying, yes, the productivity goes down if people aren't at work. But truthfully, productivity is found to increase as people have success both in their home life and their work life. And you guys, I think I was just talking to Commissioner Boki last week about, how you're out and about and you're working on a project and you're working on a project weeks, whatever, days, and you hit a roadblock. And then all of a sudden you go take your dog for a walk, or you go to the shower, or in the middle of the night, these great ideas come to you. That's how personal leave works. You have to step away from some things in order to get your mind cleared off and get out past that roadblock. But that is the same, to me, that illustrates the success of getting leave away from a project to come back and really light it up and make it happen. So our recommendation from the department heads and the compensation and benefits work group, the best way to meet the employees' needs of well-being at this point, we have both competitive benefits, including compensation, and we really, traditionally, we have been an employer of choice. And we lost a little bit of standing with the pandemic and the way that the labor market changed and those things, but we really are becoming again an employer of choice. And I'd like to continue that and keep our current employees engaged and productive. And the bottom line is the impact on service, right? So we want employees to be here and be able to serve the community to the best effect. I want to hit just this, let's see if I can get the thing on the screen so that you all have any questions. These are the numbers, and I know we'd like to see what that comes out to be. So I've tried to, even though there's a lot of information here, I've tried to show you what we're currently accruing. Our regular full-time non-EMS employees accrue at this rate, and our EMS employees are currently accruing at this rate. This would be the proposal from the work group, taking in consideration, our competition, taking in consideration who else would be vying for the talent that we have internally. And then the only change that we're requesting for what is currently called ESL is a change to the name, so a cultural change to critical leave. And you can kind of see how that stacks out. And then this is the personal leave policy, how that would work. It follows a lot of the same kind of parameters of the rest of our compensation. So anyone hired prior to the end of the month of June would receive one personal day. After the July 1st, would not receive a personal day until the next year, which is similar to how our compensation, how our merit increases work. Obviously, you can have purview. We working with department heads, we want to make sure that that is requested, scheduled no less than 2 weeks prior, and that could be used in conjunction with any other type of leave. And so if someone did have a critical illness and they wanted to use their personal day as part of their 3 days, like to get to ESL, to get to critical leave, they would be able to do that, not limited from that. So, and then of course the comparison, yeah. So questions or thoughts or anything that I can answer that isn't answered in that presentation. And obviously you have department heads and Rich is on the committee as well as. Oh, yes. Hi, Steve. Yeah, so if you have questions.
Go ahead. Just one point of clarification, I think just in full disclosure on ESL, because we do have very good benefits. What isn't on here is ESL. The way we do it is not seen anywhere in many locations to where we have a payout for ESL. That is a huge benefit. Now, that is a cost to the taxpayers. And so it's prorated, and you guys have seen it on our personnel policies. But I think the commissioners need to be aware, employees need to aware that is a huge benefit that you don't see a lot of places, a payout of ESL balance upon leave.
So in general, and you might know this from your private jobs, generally sick leave is not paid out. Annual leave is paid out when you leave for whatever reason that you leave. And so we do currently pay out extended sick leave at a prorated rate, or what would hopefully be called critical leave in the future. And that, to me, that's a whole other topic, but
Isn't there a limit to how much?
Yeah, it's prorated.
So there's not a limit to how much you can accrue. So for example, if I work here 40 years, I might have a couple thousand hours and that I could be sick for, but there is a limit of how much we pay out.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's kind of, there's not even an algorithm. It's just basically, there's a chart. And so it's not, there's not a formula to follow, but there's a chart and there's a max.
Okay. And I agree, like relabeling extended sick leave, because and in looking through it, at one point in our thing, we say annual leave is supposed to be vacation and sick leave, but nobody sees that.
No one does.
I've had employees tell me, well, I don't have any sick leave, so I'm sick, I still go to work because I don't want to use my vacation days for sick leave. That's not, because those 18 days, that's a lot more after 1 year. That's more, usually people get 2 weeks, get 10 days at plus sick leave. And we combined them, which allows them a little more flexibility, but I don't think it's, and I'm not saying all, but there's some of them, especially the newer employees, the ones that I've heard from.
Yeah. And as
that
analogy.
don't understand, they don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear an explanation either, it seems.
Sometimes I write the hour beliefs.
That's for sure.
But one that sticks out in particular to me is we lost an employee who had been here more than 3 years. I want to say he's about 4.5 years in. Younger employee, new family, and he had already turned in his resignation. And he sat in my office and we were discussing different things. And he said to me, well, what they have is they have PTO, so I don't have to worry about not using my sick leave. And I said, well, but that's what you have here. He said, and I said, you have ESL or something like that? No. And I said, okay, so you have this many days here and you have this many days there. They call it PTO, we call it annual leave. And his face was just like, I mean, he'd already made all his decisions and he was definitely out the door. And he's like, but I think it'll be fine. I think it'll be okay. But I mean, he hadn't processed through, and we try really hard to educate people on that. But I do think if people come from private industry, they'll be more comfortable with PTO than annual leave, maybe. I don't know. People use it more commonly, and I want to get that sick leave just out of there. It's not really sick leave. It's an insurance
Right.
policy.
Yeah. No, I mean, and I think it is, like I say, it's a good policy, and the fact that it is paid out at the end when you leave is definitely benefit. And for the other, whatever we call annual leave, those paid out, is there a limit on those too?
There is a limit. It's 168 to be paid out, and that's how many you can accrue actually. So that you can only accrue up to 168. I'm proposing that we would accrue up to 200.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
Yeah. But you don't lose that. You currently, if you're over that, it gets rolled over to critical leave. So that's how we end up getting, because you only, throughout your lifetime, your employment life cycle, you only get 1.85 hours per pay period. However, if I work here, 12 years and I get 168 hours and I don't use them, then that rolls over into critical leave. And really, to Rich's point and to what you're saying, Commissioner McKinley, not only is this an insurance policy, it's also retirement.
Right, yeah.
Because if you do work here through your retirement, you get this paid off. It's an amazing benefit for employees.
You get it up to that capped amount.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, to clarify, absolutely.
And I'll emphasize as one old elected official used to, previous county attorney, Bill, always came to the commissioners and reminded him that is a benefit elected officials do not get as that large payout, because he was very vocal about that.
That's true. It's true.
Oh, the critical leave.
Yeah, they don't get an additional to when you leave. There's no balance, there's no leave.
There's no balance, so you don't get any of it out for any leave, yeah.
Mhm.
That's true. And so I think it's good to remember that, because that is a benefit to being an employee that, the commissioners have granted and don't even partake in. These things are really important, and I know branding maybe it sounds fluffy, but just getting that, like Rich and I have gone back and forth. He's like, well, it doesn't change in the program. I agree. But if it changes my conception of it, it's just so much negativity around ESL, and it's such a great program.
Just as a minor point on what Elizabeth just said, you can't imagine the discussion, and it was good natured at the department level. Do we call it critical leave, disaster leave?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, catastrophic. It's ending.
I mean,
World ends, you can use it.
It kind of goes to what Elizabeth is saying about those things matter, because people were very passionate about it, because they're trying to be as clear as possible.
Yeah.
Because that really is, it's trying to address something. It's not simply, oh, we want to feel good about it. No. It's so that you don't end up with what she described, with somebody who doesn't even know, that even if they're a fairly long-term employee, what they can really do or what's that for.
Yeah, I agree. And it isn't, everything is, this has strategy and this has science behind it. And also the way people feel about their compensation affects how engaged they are in their job. And I can't say, didn't look at the voting record, Rich. I can't say for sure that this was unanimously approved and supported by the department heads, but there was no one that voted against it.
Yeah, it was unanimously approved. And actually, the addition of the one tier came from within the department head committee. I mean, we had the committee, but the addition of the tier, because that's something we always got criticized on, is how it was 2 through 10 that you got the same amount of time. And that's a long time. I mean, a lot of times it's those younger people that have the families and kids and sicknesses and athletic events that need a little bit more intermittent time. And so
yes,
I think that was a good suggestion by the department head committee, and the committee agreed that the committee's reviewed all this as well.
And that's been a point of concern for a while, but even more so with our labor market. I mean, 10 years is just a long time to wait to get the next kind of bump.
Have a motion?
Is this going to be included with these Going back up to your chart, that didn't include the personal day or not?
That does not include the personal day. The personal day is a separate non-rollover. These would all roll. So these would continue to accrue up to the max and then would be rolled over into critical leave is the way that we haven't changed that system. That system would stay the same. The personal day, however, though, would be completely separate. It would not accrue. You'd use it this year or you would lose it. And it would have to be scheduled ahead of time. You know, sometimes these are emergency, like I'm calling in sick this morning, but the personal day is really something meant to be planned out and used, not at the end of the year by everyone.
To pass it all in one motion, you could say PTO to change of ESL to critical leave and the personal day.
Yes. Yeah, I think it's.
If you want to approve.
And the whole one for EMS is, that's,
Yes.
theirs is a unique situation.
There's a unique situation, right? And actually.
I'm trying to follow their numbers. I didn't follow, but I'm not worried about them, but you've got the basic ones, then I'm sure there's
Yes.
somewhat related to EMS.
So interestingly, David and Josh, I think, Josh, I just missed say, I think it's probably you did an analysis of that, because you do that. And he said, well, there's not and David relayed to me, there's not a percentage increase. And that's true, because we're trying to say, if this is an employee benefit, that it doesn't make sense for an EMS person to take 12 out, a half a shift off. Right, so it doesn't include the exact same percentages as a regular employee, but they work 24-hour shifts, so their day.
Yeah.
I don't want to be.
Days are, yeah, it's like I say, it's
Right.
different, like,
Right, so they're,
try to
so,
follow their cycle.
Right.
I assume they were.
right, and they did look through it and they pointed that out too, there's not like there's not an algorithm to follow, and that's true, but the point there is to get the value to the employee, so instead of 5 days, 6 days, 7 days, 8 days, and that does equal 24 hours in their world.
Yeah.
No.
Go ahead.
Would you clarify for us, Elizabeth, are we still calling it annual leave right now in policy and we're asking for that change to PTO right now as well? I
Yes,
didn't see.
yeah.
Yeah, there's not an ask for that. It's
There's not an
it's
ask for
written, but I mean,
Yeah.
it's clear that you're asking to change ESL to critical, but it's not clear that the ask is to change annual PTO.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It was in the new policy proposal that eventually you'll see here in March, but you're right, I didn't write it down. So I would like, yes, we would all like to change PTO, annual leave to PTO, critical leave, or ESL to critical leave. And.
How about that?
Yeah.
That was last try.
And once you approve it, we'll train Elizabeth to what they are.
Oh, we're grounded. It's getting there again.
Yeah, I did start with catastrophic leave because I couldn't think of it. It really gave me a hard time. I said, I'm point in bed that this is a big deal. And it is a big deal. It's a great benefit and it's there for the big deal things.
And she wouldn't let me call it really big as asking.
Yeah.
Like a
Find an acronym for the.
apocalypse.
Yeah, that Rich.
Only one if the board like. Change annual to PTO, ESL to critical, expansion of PTO and personal day.
That would be the whole package.
That'd be everything, if you're in favor of everything. If not, we can modify as you wish.
So it would be. So it'd be the alternative motions.
No.
No, I can read what I
Yeah,
think it would
read
be. You can say, yeah, that, the board moved to approve the change from annual leave to PTO, from extended sick leave to critical leave, the expansion of the PTO, that's the scale, and the additional personal day. That would be everything all inclusive if you want this whole meal deal.
I would make a motion to do the whole deal. As stated.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to expand I'm confused. Whatever's been said. All in favor? Aye.
Thank you very much, commissioners. This has been a lot of work. And I really do believe this will have an impact on our retention and continue Right. Sorry.
Just so you know, I heard really big disaster.
Oh, no, I don't. You're lucky John didn't throw that in at the end.
Really big disaster.
I'm assuming you're filling in for David today, Josh?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We are a bit behind.
Yeah. I'm gonna get through this. I'm not. Now.
Ready for me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Good morning, Commissioners. Josh Herring, EMS Ambulance, with the January 24 EMS Ambulance update. You can see our calls for service in January were 428, broken down by station. We have Medic 11, which is located at 2011 Claflin with 148 calls. Medic 21, located at MFD Station 2, 11th and Points, 124 calls. Medic 31, located at Public Works, 57 calls. Medic 41, located at the Manhattan Regional Airport, 70 calls. And Medic 51, located in Leonardville, 28 calls. Some happenings for us around the EMS department in January, continue to work on the new building construction related topics. David's been busy with the group there. We've also started to kind of look at some different furniture vendors. Looking forward to that continuing. David and I have been 2 shifts passing the night with some work group and task force efforts here. One on the topic of mental health and one on the topic of substance abuse. So we're both participating in different opportunities there. I'm excited to have seats at the table and the ongoing conversations with the community to tackle both of those issues are exciting. We took delivery of our second new ambulance. It was inspected on Monday and it arrived here at Station 1 on Tuesday. It's a very impressive apparatus. We're very thankful for it and appreciative of it. They certainly do not make them like they used to. They're very comfortable to be in now. Russell Stuckey had an opportunity to kind of operate one about a week ago, one of the new ones, and commented on how much things have progressed since his time on, and it's very true. I think it's neat for the patients. Back when I first got started in EMS, it was a very bumpy, kind of nerve-wracking ride back there. Much smoother and very invite anybody to stop by and see that anytime. It's an impressive mission. We are currently, I think we've had 2 come in for written testing for the full-time EMT position. We have 2 additional schedules come in for written testing, and then we will, so all 4 of those will be participating in our full skills scenario and peer interview on Thursday, March 7th. So we'll have a full day of a hiring process on that day. We look forward to getting that position filled. Based on the candidates on the testing scores, I think we're pretty confident that we're going to do good. A good individual picked out. So we'll be excited to have that filled. Leadership, we've been scheduling and conducting tours at UBAC. The purpose behind that is to kind of shore up our response plans as they continue to kind of come into operation and different things going on there. So we had some tours, we've gone through and got some security passes. We've discussed the ins and outs of what an EMS response to different parts of that facility look like. David and Alex and I were actually there earlier this morning. It's a super neat facility. I love every opportunity I get to go there, learn something new every time. So we're excited to continue to kind of shore up those operations plans. We've also been gearing up for Fake Patty's Day, which is going to be on Saturday. It looks like the weather's going to be nice. It's going to be a nice day for the town. We're expecting a good turnout, I think, because of the nice weather. Yesterday afternoon, we met with all of our response partners at Fire, EM, and PD to share operations plans, to ask questions of one another about what each entity is going to be doing on the day, how we can kind of rely off of each other should certain situations arise. So I think we're well prepared, we're well situated, well staffed. to handle anything that may or may not happen that day. It's always kind of exciting. David and I will both be in town that day. We're kind of gonna debrief with the crew that morning together. And then I think we'll kind of take separate parts of the day. And just kind of see what the call volume looks like, see what the town needs. We had 15 event standbys in January, and we have also been in conversations with K-State Athletics and K-State facilities to prepare for the potential NCAA and NIT tournament possibilities here in Manhattan. We've got some kind of potential staffing plans worked out for that, some potential operations plans. It's been a little bit of a change that from previous years, it sounds like the NCAA will ask that we be on standby during practice times this year as well. So we're prepared to shift our operations a bit and tolerate that request. Looking forward to it. And I think we find out that just about the week before. It's pretty early notice. So, but we're ready. And, as you can imagine, I don't think that's a difficult one to get staffing for. It's an opportunity to throw your uniform on, get paid, watch a game, and help out the communities.
Can I get deputized?
Yeah, absolutely.
Josh will be there for any IT support.
Yeah, exactly. As you know, we typically find a need for it.
What kind of legal issues do you think?
I can
Depends what we're planning.
Tom, or what, they're all.
Yeah, come on up. Got a good team, right? We'll get you a polo. Bring to that some education that we've had going on. We've been continuing our 100% review of calls, publishing different parts of the training calendar, developing some protocol changes. A couple big ones are about to get rolled out that we're looking forward to. And then very recently, some equipment updates and training. We purchased new video laryngoscopes at the end of 2023. That's a very neat tool that allows you to innovate someone much more safely and efficiently. And so we've all just about completed our training on that with our mannequins. And, Alex put together a really good program. I did mine last week and learned a lot about innovation. It's changed a lot, and I was excited to go through that. And then community outreach, so participating in the car seat check lanes every Tuesday at 11 at Manhattan Fire Station 5 right now. Station 1 over a little bit tricky to get to. Yeah. But it's actually been really good. Station 5 has a bigger parking lot, so we get a little more wiggle room to put car seats in. We're not digging doors or anything like that. So that may be where it's at for a while. Yeah. Questions about any of that? Here you can see the breakdown of our responses by the day of the week. Monday, Tuesdays are staying busy. That's because everybody holds on to those complaints over the weekend because no one wants to be hurt or sick on the weekend. Responses by hour of the day. And then also our again, a breakdown by unit assignment there, unit over. And I always kind of like to see the top 5 EMS responses by dispatch reason, with sick person, then falls, then interfacility transfers, then breathing problems, and making an appearance in the top 5 there, seizures. I feel like sick persons and falls always kind of jockey for that 1 and 2 spot.
In a meeting yesterday with David where he was saying they're just getting regularly pretty hammered with calls. You guys' department, it's just like a real uptick. And it's consistent. It's not just off and on.
Yeah, and I think I don't know who decides all this stuff, but it is EMS always seems to be when it rains, of course. We can have a very uneventful 3 to 4 hour stretch midday, and then a very eventful 2 to 3 hour stretch. Doesn't seem to be a whole lot of rhyme or reason, but we have been keeping very busy in chunks like that. We've had multiple consecutive days where we've had those very busy blocks of time. But crews are handling it well. I think I'm really proud of them. we get cards and treats and emails and phone calls all the time, feedback. We share those with the crews as often as we can. And so I think, you're bright-eyed and helpful out there. It's good to see you out there. And then next up for me, if there's no questions there, is a request to fill the open full-time paramedic position. This is a budgeted full-time paramedic position, which was recently vacated. The full-time paramedic provides direct patient care and is assigned to an ambulance on a rotating vertically schedule. Also responsible for working a predetermined amount of standbys during standby season. Fiscal impact, this is a budgeted position, like I said, no adverse effects to our budget. Failure to fill this open position will result in some additional overtime costs as this position that has to be filled and it has to be staffed on that rotating shift. We recommend filling it. That's that. So I can answer any questions about that if you have any.
Just there is an error on the total proposed annual budget, I believe, on this
Yeah, there is.
form.
14,000.
14,740.
Should be 114, I think.
I think it should be 114. So I just noticed that. So just wanted the board to be aware.
Yeah, because they were 3160, so there's 20.
Well, I knew it wasn't right when the salary was 82. So I'll put it in there.
Do we need to initial that?
Sorry.
Yeah,
Sign
I'll
it?
put it in there and initial it.
Okay.
Yeah, move to approve, filling the paramedic position.
I would second that.
Been moved and seconded to fill the open paramedics position in the EMS. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, commissioners.
Thanks, Josh. Unusually good report.
No, you cannot deputize. That's 2 days in a row. You've asked.
Oh, when I get the shirt, can I get a badge? Oh, you could.
Josh said yes, I heard him.
I'll give you my shirt, my badge, but you get everything that goes with it.
I'll have Josh shares back up.
Do you get to drive the ambulance too?
Oh, yeah.
I would want to do that.
I gotta vote for that.
I missed out.
Drive the ambulance.
Yeah.
Hey, over the years, we've had some reports. I might not do much worse.
Would you wait till the garage doors are open before you pull out?
He knows when to sit down. Aren't you glad you showed up?
John, you better be quick. I gotta get out of here.
That was rather quick and good, Commissioner McKinley.
Good. North County is keeping up with, doing pretty good. Keeping up with North County is getting some actions pretty regularly.
People were putting the fire drive.
Yes.
That's wasn't worth the time. So I say this and coming through, people don't hear them, all of a sudden they hit the ambulance 3 or 4 times in the afternoon. Yeah.
So that takes well, used to be ambulance and sirens and all that. Dogs have probably had one too.
We used to hear them. Like I say, I got 2 fire stations across the street, so.
Yeah.
Already actually been. Hearing sirens all the time.
Kelly, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How about you?
Good. Thanks for being here.
Go ahead, Elizabeth.
All right, good morning, commissioners. Again, Elizabeth Ward, Human Resources Director. I was just thinking I should have asked Shelley to do this presentation, so you wouldn't have had to hear it from me 3 times today, but she is here for her questions, of course. So this is a follow-up to the conversation we had about an interim director of community corrections. So the majority of the information in the CAR is the same as what we've already discussed, and I'd be happy to go over it if you have questions. But the new information is specifically here. You would ask to look for numbers for 4 and 5 months. So Brittany and I worked through those, and I did continue to leave the 3 and 6 month on there for reference. But based on those calculations and the fact that we don't know what the exact salary level will be of the permanent director, you know, who that candidate will be, who you will select. We, Brittany and I collectively would recommend a 5-month interim appointment, which will give you enough under the budget, projected budget amount to be able to cover benefits if they, you know, take the premium plan of benefits, if they come in with 10+ years of experience, you know, whatever might come about. Obviously, we believe all of these will bring us in under budget, under our projected budget. But just being conservative, we want to make sure that we don't have an issue at the end of the year. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we do budget, when we budget an open position, we project them to come in not at the base level, but with at least 3 years external experience above the requirements for that job. But with this type of position, other areas are similar to us. They have long-term employees. They have people who've been doing this and been dedicated to this for a very long time. And so if we would hire an external candidate that might have that level of skill, you know, we just don't know what the candidate will look like. Yeah.
But you're also want to talk about, you know, which
Right.
go through 4 or 5 months of that.
That's correct.
salary.
Yeah, so that's, yes, yeah, correct, because we got Shelley through April 1st, we've got the interim for whatever amount of time you approve, and then we'll just have the remainder of the year. Correct.
Because I'm going to hit it for 4 months, there'll only be 5 months left after
Yes.
that for the new permanent.
Yes, and we have that.
If they were over.
Yes, and that includes that. So we've then adjusted the cost of the new person down to match. So we end up with a 12-month coverage of pay for an interim director. So we've got, you know, Shelley for the first part, we've got a potential interim director for 3, 4, 5, or 6 months, and then the final director. And really, we have to do it by pay period because, I mean,
Yeah.
as you're aware, there's some 3 pay periods in some months, so it depends on where they slide in. But we've gone over this in detail multiple times, and we're pretty confident in those numbers. Again, projected, right? That's the thing about that.
It's 5 months. It doesn't
Yeah.
take a lot to me. 4 sounds good to me, but
And we can, I mean, there's no reason we can't make that work.
yeah,
If you think that's the better option,
I don't know. So I was just asking, see what.
You think it will take 5 months? Will it take 5 months?
well, it's not about the time needed to fill.
Needed.
Right.
It's just how much we want to cover.
Yes.
Oh, I see.
The whole reason is because we were over budget. We had staff change that we had calculated into the budget, expected retirement and a lower wage, and that's not going to happen this year the way we projected it. And so if we hire a new director immediately on Shelley's departure, the budget will definitely be over budget. We will not have the funds covered for 2024. So that's the purpose of this. I think we are going to have great candidates. I mean, I don't think filling this position, I think you're gonna have a lot of great candidates to choose from, to be honest, is what I project. This is a difficult job. And it takes a unique personality and a unique set of skills, and also the people who do it across the state know that Riley County does a great job. So I think they'll be interested.
Okay.
I'm kind of siding with 5. But we can only do 4, I can live with it.
can go anyway. Saying 5, but 4 is okay.
I'm not gonna do any more than that, I don't think, but, you know.
Like I said, I was leaning for 4, but I thought it was 5. That's what I
Okay, let's do 5 then.
Okay.
You wanna do it or?
Yeah, I'll move to approve, excuse me. I move to approve an interim appointment of 5 months for the community corrections director position.
Let's second that.
We moved in second to approve an interim appointment of 5 months for the community corrections director position. All those in favor?
Aye.
Commissioners, we do have 2 internal candidates for that position, and Shelley just printed out today, gave me the last 4 years of their evaluations. Every single evaluation for both is exceeds or outstanding. So you've got some 2 really good internal candidates for this. Looking at the next full month of calendars, we're gonna have to do those interviews in the afternoon. And so I wanted to
So, yeah,
float that with you.
if that was him.
Yeah, so I had Cindy look at all your calendars to what she knows in March, and we could do March 7th, which would be the closest between 12 and 1:30, but it's over a lunch hour, and I don't know how you feel about that.
I'm gonna have to look, but
I said I just rescheduled.
Well, I can send these days out, but are you open to afternoons, just depending on,
If that's what it takes.
yeah, she,
On the 7th, I have an appointment at 1:20. So if it could be over lunch, it's fine.
well, you probably need about, I would guess about 45 minutes per person, and you got 2. If you want to knock them out in the same day. Did have March 11th on, but I heard Clancy asking you for that afternoon.
that's not gonna work.
It's already,
Yeah.
it's already a mess.
So March 18th is the other opportunity, which would be 1 to,
I got it all board.
okay, you can see how they just get knocked out. And then March 21st,
I've got a 2:10.
so we could do before that.
Should have about 10 minutes to get there, so
That might.
up until 2.
Okay. We could do that. I'll double check with Cindy. She had 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock, but if we did the noon hour, we should be able to get done.
Okay.
If you guys are okay doing noon hour. Okay, all right, well,
Unless you're bringing in lunch.
you'll be quick. I think we can do that, but we'll have to be quick.
Pizza. Pizza's fast.
Okay, all right.
So that would be.
I'll send it out to you all and you can confirm that that will be our tentative plan. Thank you very much, commissioners.
Commissioner, next, John Ellerman up at 11:20.
These changes, I'm held with this. Keep calling. I would sit through the oral process already, but I'm just sitting at the back, so I'm wondering already.
Oh.
I get really stiff.
Monday.
Yeah.
Yeah, 6 hours.
When does that start?
9, I think.
9,
I think.
okay.
You took probably 3.
Usually gets done a little earlier.
We can hope.
Okay, John.
Commissioners, John Allen, Public Works. And we're talking today, we're getting closer and closer to turning dirt and moving stuff to build the empty headquarters. Today I got in front of you the guaranteed maximum price of the construction, which is the BHS's cost to build the station. So that price has come up as we working through budgets and design of 9,587,108. And those costs include some of the items that we added and subtracted from the project. They include the construction manager's fee, general conditions, and the pre-construction services that all the work that BHS has done to develop the budget up until now. Are all included in that price. We have an estimated start date of, it says March 18th, but I think we're going to be pushed back a little bit. I'm assuming around April, May, we get started. We're just waiting on permits now, I think, since.
Yeah, I saw this, the city's on the 14th, so yeah. That's all right.
So, but the bottom line is 426 calendar days for completion of the project. And so depending on when we start, it will affect when we end. And the goal is May of 25 to be finished. Cost up to date, design, study, and contracts that we have with Arch Images is $1,107,160. This guaranteed maximum price for the construction, we're estimating $500,000 for furniture, fixtures, equipment, stuff to fill the station and the office.
I thought the furniture and all that equipment was coming out of David's salary.
That's our.
Then I'm underpaid right now.
No.
Payroll
I thought that was part of the contract. You can, I'm gonna have to relook at that.
Payroll deductions to your lifetime contract there.
Thought that was the negotiation for having a new building.
I need to be involved in those conversations.
You were nodding like a bobblehead the whole
I
time.
don't recall that, Commissioner.
I think it was implied there.
I think you're right, Nancy. I think that's the proper legal term too.
It's also called cheating, David.
I tried to save us some money.
So then you see the IT estimated cost of the wiring cameras and items that IT is going to put in, and then some of the miscellaneous items that I have in there. I'm probably missing something, but these are third-party review of the storm shelter. So they needed somebody else to review the design and Arch Images for the storm shelter of the station. That's geotech work. That's materials testing and inspection from a third party that we would cover as the BHS construction building, and some survey work that we've done previous to for site work and that for design and design. So we have a total budget of estimate around 11,754,268 for the entire process.
That's the entire project, total.
This is
I thought it was more than that.
building and.
Well, quick, make a motion before it goes up.
Well, yeah.
I did not include anything Davis bought to,
But do keep in mind, that's for phase one. We still have the other phase two.
this is
so-
not, this is not emergency management.
Right.
Yeah, because they're saying it's a rough estimate right now is about $1 million to redo the
Yeah.
existing station.
Oh,
First
okay.
management.
Okay.
Still fits in what we were looking at.
Still coming in.
Yeah. I'm comfortable with that.
Yeah.
The emergency management facility, we're looking at about, a little over $1 million too.
That's good.
that they can't finalize or start anything until this thing's done and you move out.
We can get better budget numbers as Arch Images works through the design of the remodel.
Yeah.
And then VHS can start working their magic with the budget numbers too. For that.
And if those numbers don't work, then Russell can just move into the new facility.
Share office with David.
Share offices.
Share office with David.
Russell and David?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Good combination.
They can roll downhill. Josh and Alex will share an office. That way Russell gets Josh's office.
Have Russell got 4 other people besides him too.
Yeah, he's gonna get cozy.
We got everything on that, right?
Okay, well, I would make a motion to approve the guaranteed maximum price amendment as proposed.
Second.
Okay, been moved and seconded to approve the guaranteed maximum price amendment as proposed in the car. All in favor?
Aye.
Chair, please sign.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kelly. Appreciate it.
Forward to this.
Thanks, David.
Time to start looking for a groundbreaking date.
Thanks, John.
Yeah, as soon as we'll be able to set that once we know.
Sure.
the process through the city.
Okay.
We just don't know for sure those dates yet.
Okay,
So.
thank you, Kelly. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
I'm signing where it says owner. See there? Boy, that's it.
Yes.
That's kind of fun.
I get to own an EMS station. This is great.
Now I know where to sit all my.
We know how.
No, never mind. I haven't signed yet.
You know how many times you're gonna have to buy ambulance doors?
Yeah, right. Whew. And okay. Sorry, if anybody doesn't object, I'm gonna let it Corey does hit early. That's just an update.
You bet.
Guys, I'm worn out and exhausted today, so.
Always happens the end of the week.
It's been a long couple of days and I'm just, I want to eat. Sorry.
Agree.
I think we need a little rejuvenation room in the back somewhere with a little cot. and
Yeah,
some nice
bar.
music. We can lay down and take a little nap.
Well, I heard that it's used as a.
Commissioner Newsom used to. He'd fall asleep and he had a cooking timer in his office right there. He used to have it. And
I Commissioner Wells did that a few times during our budget hearings.
Who?
Commissioner Wells.
Oh, really?
Just go in there and sleep in the recliner and, yeah.
It's like about bringing a little cot in here to do my PT with.
Coat rack. It's basically.
Ready for Corey, Commissioner?
Yeah, go ahead, Corey.
All right. Thank you, Commission. Corey Meyer, ITGIS Director. I'll just hit some highlights. There's a lot of the normal month-to-month things that we've got going on, but some of the big bullet point items, we're back in the swing of finishing out our Windows 11 upgrades. The attorneys in Oxford Suite and Community Corrections will be our focus over the next few months, as well as getting through all our laptops. Laptops this year will be our hardware focus in what we need to get done. So this targeted October 2025, where we have to have everything to Windows 11. And doing some storage rearrangement, expanding our storage in regards to production storage as well as backup storage. As we grow with cameras, security, and in preparation for the 4th floor here being remodeled and that storage that'll happen with video in places, we gotta stay ahead. So we're always watching the projects that are going on and looking to stay ahead of those things. One that's come under our radar that we're working on is in anticipation of our phone system upgrade that we've got going on next year. We have to work through a term that's been brought to us called dispatchable location. Dispatchable location is a term that is the additional information that in addition to the address that gets sent to dispatch if 911 is called. My explanation of that would be that It Rich dialed 911 from that phone there, it would not only need to say 115 Fourth,
North Fifth, North Fourth.
North Fourth. It would also need to represent and say something of first floor commission. That way, when entry into the building took place, they now have a dispatchable location within the building of where they go to.
That makes sense.
We have to have all of that done and completed to be able to get assistance from a vendor. That's part of what we have found. They cannot work on a phone system, and these are FCC regulations. They cannot work on one unless you're licensed. And so we're working through those. I've had meetings with the 911 group and so forth to determine the right way to go about handling that. That'll be a big one that we will get through this year. You may or may not have seen, we're doing various phone upgrades and throughout the county. We're working on getting newer models of those in. We are also working on some additional security features and reviewing some software and licensing to get into a little bit of device control, making sure that we're not allowing hardware other than Riley County hardware to access email and those type things. So we're exploring some new security features that will potentially be moving to. And the EMS headquarters was just discussed. We've had some preliminary work we've been doing in preparation for the ground being broke. We've had to move fiber. Currently, the fiber that connects the health department main building and the FCRC swings out underneath of part of the ground that'll be tore up. So we had a new conduit board, and actually Monday we'll be pulling the new fiber through there. And then working to reconnect the FCRC building over that new fiber, which will be clear of where the groundwork will be done. Also, when that's done, the current EMS building will become disconnected. So I worked with WTC. We put in a temporary internet connection there and some hardware so that they're still on network with us. And then once the order of buildings take place, the new headquarters gets up and then they move, and then the remodel of EM gets done, then we'll come back in and we'll do the full fiber reconnection. But it's just staying ahead of the construction that's going on there. Also, we are had all of our quotes and things ready to go in anticipation of the approval today so that we can move forward with hardware ordering. We're in a window right now as an example where the cameras for the building, when I leave here today, I will be going in and putting in the order. They actually came on a very nice cost savings where I'm going to be able to save about $8,000 if I purchase them today versus waiting one more day. So I want to get in and get that purchase done. So I'm always looking for where I can find those savings in those areas. We'll also be moving forward. We've got a server to replace at the health department, storage to put in, and all those pieces are working ahead of in anticipation of once the building is up in May. So we'll have a lot of work that we'll be doing, especially with 40 cameras going up in the building. The amount of storage there will be pretty big in reporting on that. So also then the election remodel that's going up here in the 4th floor, the meetings on those, preparation of that, the equipment needed, getting invoices to Susan and so forth so that those things can be turned in where they need to be. I think there's some grant monies being worked on there. We're also got 4 offices established for the counselors in public works, so that in anticipation of the noise that'll come with the remodel, they'll be able to work out there or have both locations actually to be able to work at. And Rodman and team, they worked quickly on that. It gets set up out there for them, and I think has gone well.
It's gone very well. We really appreciate all the effort you and your staff put in on that. It's been really impressive.
So thank you for that. Another remodel being Adamus, theirs is going on as well, and it is kicking off next week. So we've been working with them to get their cameras, additional storage, and the pieces that they have going on. That one wasn't interesting with me. They got federal funding, and that brought forth a very specific vendor list that you could or could not order equipment from, which brought China into play, which then brought up a conversation I ended up having with Rich about some equipment, and that he actually then in return ended up talking to, is it head of elections, director of elections at the state on just equipment vendor names and so forth, and making sure that the remodel and the equipment that we use in election areas is not, I guess, illegal equipment, as I might call it. So,
That's good.
And equipment countywide.
Countywide as well. So, yeah,
That's a good thing.
it became quite the snowball of events there, and I think maybe even oh yeah, thank you for bringing that up from the state. So it's always it's interesting there. But we are working to make sure that we are in complete compliance and that we do not have anything to get us put us in harm's way. So as you'll see, then we will be doing some camera hardware and software upgrades. We've got some door security upgrades going on up in this building and over in mine as well, as far as some new readers and things that are going on. We're still working as though we always are, keeping our own equipment, servers and everything, and all the operating systems upgraded. In GIS, we hopefully, knock on wood, will complete the Eagle View flight this weekend. We had about a 10-day delay where a part of the area they needed to fly next to the fort. It was either fly it at a higher elevation because of live fire that they were doing.
Seems
Or
like a good
wait.
Yeah, exactly.
We went with the weight cost,
Bullets.
right? Like cowards, right? I was like, I mean, it's not us in the plane, but I was like, well, Jake, maybe you guys want to get in the plane and have an aerial view of what that looks like. But so I thought that was quite the response that the fort gave was, well, you could fly it at this elevation if you want, because we'll have
And you should be out of range.
Yeah. So you just don't want a rookie down there on the big gun, I guess, Whoops, moment, but, so they gave clearance that we'll fly this weekend, which the weather looks good and everything. And they are getting phenomenal imagery as what we're told. So we're really looking forward to that. We're really looking forward to the appraiser's office and other departments who use that. They know what we've got coming there in an upgraded imagery and tools. So they're really excited for those pieces. I got 2 staff that are be going to the Esri conference in July. I thank you for the approval of that. They always love going to that. And last year, when it was at the conference and Sherry was there was this historical imagery application I spoke about that's got imagery from the 80s and the 70s and goes back quite a ways. We didn't think that it would really be all of that much of a hot item, but as Sherry reports that she's in and out of that application anywhere between 15 and 20 times a week, especially going back and finding old road vacancies. It's become an incredible piece of research and going back and looking at old road naming and things. So it's really interesting also to look at some of the old views of the county versus the new views and the way things have changed in the development of it. But it was a great find to come across when she was out there. We also have rolled out a major version upgrade to our Esri software. And Jake has gone through all the testing on that on our test servers, and then he did the upgrade to the system over a weekend so that it did not create any downtime for any of our internal users. I appreciate him doing that. As we always do, we're looking to minimize the amount of downtime we have for staff. As a service department, we need to have them up as much as possible and down the least amount. So that's what we'll do, those things there. And then finally, there's a project we've been working on for a while. It's the one there. It's called the Image Now. It was an application that Public Works had where we helped them image their all their plats and maps they have. And that system came antiquated, and then the company went out. And we finally have got the final import of those images done into a new web-based system for them that uses part of our GIS system. So that's been one long time coming that they use on a regular basis out there for research. Outside of that, fully staffed, James Bridgers, our new employee, if you're having a chance to talk to him, is doing a phenomenal job, as well as all of my staff. I'm really proud of them, and any chance I get to show my appreciation for them, I will do it. I think we're top notch, so. Aside of that, any other questions, I'd be more than happy to answer.
I'm good.
All right, thank you. Commissioner.
Thanks, Corey. Appreciate it.
Appreciate your support.
Thank you.
Thanks, Corey.
Okay, well, that was it for today. So I don't have anything else. I want to eat. So I'm gonna go home and recharge the batteries.
I'd like to have 40-minute executive session. I just wanted to see what happened over here.
See if we get a motion to fire the counselor.
I just want to see if I can see another person's head explode.
I saw somebody heading towards early retirement.
Involuntary.
Yeah, involuntary.
Test that theory of at will.
Not a theory.
Unusual week next week, commissioners. No commission meeting on Monday. Reminder rural communities meeting 9 to 3 in Leonardville, and then annual township officers meeting next Wednesday.
Yes.
So busy but different week.
Okay, I would like to make a motion to adjourn the February 29th meeting of the Board of Raleigh County Commissioners.
Second.
Okay, been moved and seconded to adjourn the February 29th weekday meeting of the Riley County Commission. All in favor?